You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens.
And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we're in mid-September, which means we're less than a month away from my 33rd birthday. I will be 33 on October 12th, and I am looking forward to it. I'm super excited about just, I just feel grown. I can't put into words. I just feel grown, y'all. I feel so grown. And I guess I'm a third of a lifetime, right? 100 years, 33 and some change, right? That's a third. So, we're past the quarter. We're now to a third. And I feel a level of just maturity and self-control in a way that I just have not felt ever, to be honest. I can just look at stuff and go, I know what that is, rather than having so much, uncertainty or unassuredness. I'm very clear and self-aware of my surroundings, how I feel about things, what I like, what I don't like. It just is I'm really feeling very good about the self-clarity I have in my life right now, and just having a sense of self-importance, which is important, right? Let me be very clear. Understanding your value, having confidence internally with yourself is not arrogant, is not cocky, is not boisterous. It's actually something that we all should have. It's called self-esteem. And I think sometimes people will make you feel as though, you're being difficult or you're being all these things because of your self-awareness with self. It's baffling, but it's also a mechanism that people use to suppress people, especially free speech, and especially Black voices and queer voices and women and others. So I'm leaning into my own self-awareness and my own mindfulness. Shall I say demureness, but I guess it's dying down, right? All of that. But it is essential. And it also allows you to filter through bullshit, which is very important as well. So just wanted to start off with that. We got a lot to talk about on this week's episode, so there's not one drop spilled or unspilled. The excitement of the debate, the post-debate excitement, has definitely been great, has been exciting, just seeing the reactions from you all, the continuations about that night, which you all heard in a special edition. So this episode, not talking too much about the debate itself, that experience. That's why I made a special edition episode. So this episode will not be 4 or 5 hours long. I mean, I haven't done a 5-hour episode, so 4 before maybe. But I was like, that deserved its own standalone. And I sometimes get annoyed when people be like, you're going to do a special, you're going to listen. Sometimes I can't speak on it. I can't get to confirm anything because sometimes I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I'm just like, look, I don't have the time. But then sometimes the adrenaline rush and excitement of the experience might actually get me up enough where I could. And so that night after the debate, I didn't go straight to bed. I was just so off the high of the excitement of it all that I had some energy in me to do a nice special edition episode, which it was only an hour long. Like, my special edition episodes is me hyper focused on one particular situation and just dive right into it. And normally that's about an hour. And so could you imagine if I had that on this episode? Oh, this would have been longer, right? Not that you all mind, but still, it's just, for me, I was like, let me get everything out because I'm going to remember stuff. I'm going to be able to savor everything in, and I can really talk about it like as if it was live. And so that's what I did. And you all clearly loved the episode. So super excited about that. But yeah, the debate was great. It was a fun time. It was lovely, and it just really propelled the rest of this great week. So the rest of my week was less chaotic because I did not go to CBC weekend, which that's the Congressional Black Caucus CBC weekend. That's where all the black elected officials, legislators come down to DC, where they all have big parties and orgies and drink. And they also have panels and workshops and networking opportunities. That's what they do before they go to drinking and orgies and more, drug-fueled nights. Listen, I don't go to CBC weekend like that. I haven't gone. I don't do it personally. I just feel like, I don't know. There's too much partying fucking going on. Yes, Kamala Harris is showing progress on the polls. The vice president has been making a very strong standing. She's got a nice debate. She kicked Trump's ass in the debate. She's doing her thing. She's making it happen, right? But we're doing a little bit too much partying, y'all. We're doing too much partying. When you got folks out here that's still acting like they don't know why they should vote in this election. And mind you, early voting is happening already. Early voting is taking place in certain states across the country. Early voting is in full effect right now. People are already casting their vote for the next president of the United States, which is why this debate we just saw was really important, because that debate is going to influence a lot of folks. And Democrats vote early a lot of times. The voting early method, the mail-in voting, that is a Democratic strength. So seeing huge numbers of people show up to the polls early to vote is very promising. However, we have to be very mindful that this is still not over. And so when I see a lot of these videos and these selfies and all this, everybody on the White House lawn, Black excellence, all that stuff, I'm just like, y'all live in neighborhoods, states, districts, and areas where voter turnout is low, enthusiasm is low. Get your ass off of that White House lawn and go in your districts and make sure people are showing up to vote. Because the deadline for new voters in Pennsylvania is October 21st. That means that you have a month and some change to get your ass out there and make sure people are aware and are doing what they need to do. It's too much lollygagging going on. It's too much partying and turning up with these elected officials. Okay? Do that at the PA Society in December when Kamala wins. But right now, it's not official. It is a if she wins right now. When she wins is on November 6th. If she wins is before that. So we got to turn that if into a win. And win will be the party when you celebrate at PA Society, folks, in New York, okay? That's when you all will go out and have glasses and shake hands and really get excited. Right now, it's too much partying for me. It's too much partying for me, okay? I'm all for joy, but we're getting a little too turned. And I need people to wake up and stop acting like this race is a wrap. We got a nice lead. You got to maintain the lead. We doing good. It's looking good, but it ain't great yet. Get out there and do what you got to do. And I'm really talking about elected officials and the staffers and these consultants and all these people. I'm not at CBC weekend. No, I'm not going down there. What I'm there for? Y'all have not delivered yet. Deliver this Black woman the presidency, and then we can go party. I might show up next year, but for the day. Because let me tell you, Mr. Johnson, my husband, he was there with Captain Gilmore Richardson. He's her spokesperson. They went to CBC weekend. Not the weekend. Let me be clear. They showed up on Thursday. They got up early in the morning, took a train. Let me tell you something. They was headed out of there. They was headed out of there. I want to say they was headed out of there. I want to say, what time was it? They was like out of there around maybe 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. They was out of there because they wasn't going to waste any more time. They wasn't about to sit up and do any more extra stuff. They had to focus on the assignment at hand. She went to some panels. She spoke at some events, and they was on that ride right back to Philly. Ain't nothing really out there for married folk. If you married and you somebody got a partner, a spouse, a lover, whatever, you ain't really down there like that. Because that's where the singles go to mingle. And the married folks that go down there seem to put them wedding wings away. People just seem to just go out there and get buck wild. That's they Freaknik. That's the political Freaknik. It's CBC weekend. The journalism Freaknik, as they used to call it, was the NABJ conventions. But ain't nobody got time for that over here. But I know that is, that is where it's at. Everybody went down there, got loosey goosey, all this positioning and all that. One of my good friends, Charnay, who lived in DC for some time, but now she's in Philly. She said, DC was just always like very, like, it's just a lot of posers, a lot of fakeness, and a lot of people that pretend and go down there and put on their little Burlington Coat Factory suits and really go out there and really trying to act like they in the know. And then you look in the back and that suit got the stitching in the back. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Any guy who knows what I'm talking about, when they get a suit, right? On the back of the suit, there's like the back cross stitching, like the little stitch at the ends where you're supposed to cut the little end so you can free the suit so you can actually sit comfortably and breathe. I can always tell when a person has not been in that society, in that space like that. Cause I'm like, that's a suit. You clearly don't wear suits often, and you clearly got this suit for this occasion. Can you please, get your shit together? Like, it's just, that's a pet peeve of mine. But like, it's just a emblem and a symbol of a lot of the facade that takes place in DC. And during CBC weekend, it's a lot of facade. It's a lot of that. And I'm just so, look, I always tease and say I'm a child star, but like, I have been exposed to this very, very early in my career. And so you're looking at situations like I've been an adult for 15 years coming up, 15 years. And pretty much have been in journalism just as long. I've been in some type of media platform since then. So it's not like it's very obvious to me at this point. I can go and tell a person is bullshitting in the space. I can tell when somebody's a natural. I can tell when somebody's a pro. I can tell when somebody's a hoe. I can tell when somebody is a no. Like, I can tell all of it. And so when you've done it for that long, but also young enough that people don't assume, right? Because see, people like me is when people are fake around people my age. I feel like people in their early 30s, late 20s oftentimes get the most fakeness because people assume that your career or your exposure started maybe 5 years back. Because there's always the levels, right? It's okay, you went to college and then you graduated. Then you had what is called maybe the grad school years where you was not really on networking events and things. You had the entry level job, right? Which probably was around 5. So then people assume that when you're around 27, that's when you finally enter a space like that where you are, getting the invitations to events and things. That's not the world I live in. But I know a lot of people traditionally around 27, 26, 27, that's when they're entering these corporate galas and networking spaces that are like very much around elite people. That's typically the career trajectory of folks that is trying to navigate spaces. It's around 26, 27 when a lot of those people that either work for a company get the invites to go to certain stuff, to staff stuff, to really get the real full throttle is around that age. So if that's where you start around that age of getting that exposure, you don't know who the vultures are. You don't know who the liars are. You're going to learn. You don't know who the con artists are per se. You're getting exposed to them for the first time. Now, remember me, I started years before that. So when I'm in these spaces, I'm like, I already know I already know what this is. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm not an early bloomer. Like, I done already seen, or a late bloomer, to be honest. I've already seen this before. So people can't really pull the wool around my eye. But I do have a couple of people who definitely have met Boo Boo the Fool at 28, 29 years old. And that makes sense. But CBC weekend is full of a lot of that kind of behavior. And you just kind of live and you learn and you move forward. So what was I doing? I was getting my life together, getting my second, I'm teaching, public speaking at CCP. Oh, Freudian slip. Oh, I said that because one of my students actually earlier today reached out to me from Cheney and heard about this public speaking course that I'm teaching at CCP. and they don't really have anything like that at Cheney. And so they wanted to reach out to me to see if they can take the course or just sign up to just take that course separately. And so I was giving them some feedback on how they can be able to apply and get maybe even get some type of course credit transfer or something like that to supplement. But they really want to teach it because I'm teaching the course, and they really wanted me to be their teacher again in that kind of capacity. So they're part-time at Cheney, so I think they might have the flexibility to be able to take the course. And so we're like trying to work on that and things. So Cheney has still been in my heart, and I still love those kids. I really do. I really do. And so, it's just funny that they're like, okay, you're there, I'm following you wherever you go. And that's when you make an impact on students, when no matter if you change your location or where you go, they will follow you regardless. And so I'm really excited about that. But I've been working on just getting my curriculum and things designed for that course. Of course, I'm teaching tech for the workplace, which has been great. My students are really fully acclimated in the class. I mean, and the other thing, I'll say this. I know I'm doing really good because my students, the attendance level of my students coming to class, and the fact that they're coming on time, like they're in it, like they're engaged, like they're showing up. Like my students are like, they're on me, they're following up, they're showing up and showing out. So I'm really like, I'm excited about that, because a lot of times, they'll come up the first day, the second day, and then that's when the numbers start dwindling a little bit. But it's just been high energy, high attendance. And, we're really into the thrones of the actual course. Because introductory stuff, I do it, I like it, but I like to get into the real lesson. And so they're engaging, they're into it. They're really showing up and showing out. So I'm really proud of them. But yeah, I've been doing that. But also I've been, of course, hitting up restaurants. A lot of you all have been noticing some of the cool restaurants I've been to these past couple of days. It's fall, so it's new restaurants, it's experimental restaurants, it's circling back, it's all that jazz. But before I get into the food, I had a really great time. I went to the National Liberty Museum, which is in Old City. I love museums, don't I? The National Liberty Museum, not to be confused with the Museum of the American Revolution, but the National Liberty Museum just opened a new exhibit around free speech. And it's so timely because we're getting ready for the 250th anniversary of America. Of course, the birthplace of democracy, Philadelphia. We're currently in election season. And so this exhibit is very timely. So I got a sneak peek of the exhibit that is now open to the public at the National Liberty Museum. It is a free speech exhibition that's going to be happening for several months. It's going to be all until next year. So this is not going to just be for like a month or a couple of days or a couple of weeks. This is going to extend all the way till next year. And there's going to be several of programs and different parts to this series. So there's multiple floors at the National Liberty Museum, but there's also levels of exhibits that's going to change and be added and extended throughout this entire rollout. So it's one of those situations where if you come to the museum now and check it out, understand that in a couple of months there's going to be a new experience. So it's a consistent, engaging experience where you should come multiple times throughout the year, of this year through next year, to see the updates and things. So just want to put that under your radar. But I was super excited about that experience at museum. Now to food. There's a gnocchi spot on 12th and Arch that is incredible. It's connected to that Italian like restaurant that's like a casual fast takeout restaurant on Arch. Is right across the street from the Pennsylvania Convention Center. It's right across from there. It's over there on the corner where Panera Bread is. So you see the front of Panera Bread, but that little side where you're walking down 12th and Arch, it's right there. It's a little takeout spot that's connected to that Italian restaurant. I think it's called La Cucina or something like that. It is a gnocchi spot, right? Let me tell you about this place. I heard about it through my friend Josh, my lit brother. Josh, he's Philly. He had posted about it a couple of weeks ago and was just like, yo, Ernest, you really need to check this spot out. And I was like, okay, are you telling me this? Are you telling me this? He was like, I am telling you this. I was like, okay, I got to check this out. So This place is dope. They do take out. It's very fast. It's not a sit-in restaurant. You go up to the front. They have several gnocchi options. They're good for vegans. I think there are some vegan options, like some non-dairy options. They also have vegetarian options as well with no meat. But you go up, you place your order, and they do ready to serve gnocchi dishes, like really great fine pasta, like hot, ready, fresh ingredients, the basil, the everything. They really do it up. It is like, I believe, like $10 for it. Very hot, served to you right on top. A very generous portion of pasta, top quality. They got tiramisu. They serve the Italian sodas and things. And if you want a real quick lunch but with quality, a quality lunch is real cheap under the butt. Listen, that is a spot. So what I did was I went there, ran up there, got me some pasta right after City Council Live. So they're open. They're not open every day of the week, but they're mostly open throughout the lunch hours, I think into the weekends. You can go on their Instagram page. The Instagram page, I'm going to say what it is because I don't want anyone to be behind. But it is really good. It's called gnocchi. It's called, so the pronunciation is GTG _ La Cocina TM. So if you go on Instagram, you just put in gnocchi to go. If you put in gnocchi to go on Instagram, you can follow the page. It's called gnocchi to go. It is by La Cocina, which La Cocina is right there. It's vegetarian friendly. It's delicious gnocchi. They got over 3,000 followers on Instagram, but it's called gnocchi to go, and it's on 1206 Arch Street. They're Thursday to Saturday. So they're Thursday to Saturday, y'all. Thursday to Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday to Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So it's very quick. This is La Cocina at the market. So they're over there by Ready Terminal Market in that area. But it is called gnocchi to go. And really big, I was really a big fan of it. Thought it was really good. Thought the food was good. The quality, the price. It's worth the stop if you're in the area. So I feel like that's going to be my new little spot now on Thursday. So I'm always downtown Thursdays, of course, for... I'm downtown Thursdays for Philadelphia City Council Live. And so what's interesting is my show is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. As you heard, they close at 1:30. So the moment I'm done with City Council Live, I jet set in my ass right over there to gnocchi to go. Okay, because it was not too far from me and was able to get me some gnocchi. So I just I can't shout them out enough, but try them, check them out. Highly recommend it. And tell them I sent you there. So other things going on. This week, I also tried, Friday the 13th. Okay. And I'm a little superstitious because I don't really play with Friday the 13th like that. But I checked out Nightmare Before Tinsel. Now, I've gone every year since they've been in this inception. But for people who don't know about this place, this is Tinsel. Tinsel has this really eclectic bar that does a lot of cool stuff. Like they have a really fun bar that just changes their look every season. Like there's always a new, like really for Halloween and the holidays. So if you go to Tinsel, let's say around Halloween, there's Nightmare Before Tinsel. It's a very spooky location, all that jazz. And then the other side of it is during the holidays, there's a Christmas theme. So it's like a bar. They don't really do food. It's not really that much about food. It's about drinks. You go there to get drinks, to social, to mingle. So it's a real fun Halloween theme bar that's going to be now till Halloween, of course. And so the new kickoff is they launched on Friday the 13th, just this past weekend, and now it's open to the public, and it's got this Halloween theme, all the spooks. What's great about this iteration this year is that they got new PR. Punch Media is their new PR. They have an upstairs like bar now. They spent a lot of money and really upgraded the decorations, the whole experience. So now there's a downstairs and an upstairs because capitalism and because, of course, we want more, more, more. So they decorate the upstairs. They got a bar up there. It's an upstairs, downstairs vibe. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of room for people to really mix and mingle and have a good time. Loved it. Loved the new upgrade of the spot, the space. Highly recommended. If you're looking to do something spooky that is not requires you to wear a costume or really go all the way out, you don't really want a haunted house situation, but you still want to be in the spirit or the season. Better words. That's a great little situation. Like you can be in Hollywood mode, but for real, you can be in Halloween mode. You can have all of the different gadgets and excitement, but this is a fun spot to go for grown folks. You must be 21 and older to go. Don't even try to do it. And for folks that love to bring their babies out to bars, I don't know. Listen, I can't listen. Parents got to drink too, I suppose. But there's been a theme lately I've seen of parents bringing their kids to bars, like babies and things. And some bars, I guess, allow it. But I'm just thinking to myself, with all the smoke that some of these bars, well, you can listen. I know that I'll be listen. Some of these places be having smoke, and they're not supposed to be smoking. Now, let me be clear: tinsel people do not smoke inside of tinsel. But you listen, and don't just be cigarettes that be smoked inside these places. I mean, folks be vaping, all that kind of stuff. I just feel like it's just never, just not a good idea. Personally, like I don't have any children myself. I'm not a parent, but sometimes I go out and I will see people be bringing their kids, and Jamarcus and I specifically, we'll go out for a drink or a happy hour or something. And we'll just be like, they really brought their baby here? Like they really thought this was. Listen, like I said, parents, I guess parents gotta have a drink too. So yeah, great spot, great fun place for grown folks. It's always a good time. I did a double visit to Fishtown this weekend. This was like, I don't know, September feels like Fishtown season. Last week, Mr. Johnson and I was at Bastia, which was fabulous. This weekend, I was at Kalila with Dr. Parks, Joe, and Mr. Johnson. It was a fabulous dinner. I mean, of course it was a fabulous dinner. Kalila is one of the best restaurants in America. It is one of my favorite restaurants, period. And Dr. Parks and Joe, this is their first time going. And we wanted to do a dinner because Dr. Parks is going to go to Baltimore. She's moving to Baltimore. Joe and her are moving to Baltimore in the next couple of weeks. It's funny because I feel like there's going to be more time spent in Philadelphia now that we're not neighbors than probably the time we spent together in Philly prior to. But, enough about that. What I will say is that they're moving to Baltimore in early October, which is going to be like, but I don't, I mean, Baltimore is literally 45 minutes away from Philly. It's not that far at all. Is it 45 minutes? Well, if you're speeding, I think it's like a 90 minute. Maybe it's 90 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't say 45 minutes. But it's not that far, in other words. I've been acquainted with Baltimore. I went to Baltimore last year, twice actually, for a lovely proposal between the two of them. And also had a really great trip with the Lip Brothers. So I know my way around Baltimore. Atlas Restaurant Group definitely made sure I tried a lot of restaurants there when I went. So I look forward to going to make some trips to Baltimore, when I can. I definitely would love to check out Baltimore and some things, but I'm soaking up the time and experiences we have here in Philadelphia proper. And Kalila was one of them. It was a great group dinner. We did the tasting menu, which I highly recommend. A place like Kalila, you really don't want to pick entrees unless you're a pro. Now, if you're a pro and you've been there a couple of times, you can then be able to say, I like this, I like that, I want this, I want that, right? And funny enough, my little brother Gio was there because his husband Mark had a birthday. So they had a birthday situation we was at the same time. That was so cute. But George lives in Fishtown, so he knows Kalila in the back of his mind. He knows what to get, what not to get. He just knows his way. But because they were newbies, it was fun to do the tasting menu because we literally ate everything. I mean, it built up on us. Like they did it real cute. They started off with the fish cakes and the rice cakes and the dumplings and all the things. They started off with like nice little nibbles and bites that was real good and savory and tastes really well. But then they started rolling out the dishes and it was boom, 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 boom. One thing about that, the owner, the executive chef and the owner, Knock is going to feed you. I don't know anybody who leaves Kalila and be like, I'm not hungry. I'm still hungry. They're going to feed you. She does not play with her portions, which I love. I love that restaurant. It is lively. It is flavorful. It is high energy. It's beautiful. It's exciting. The energy is just always high. It's a very vibrant restaurant. And and they do what they do really well, and they're reasonable. It's a reasonably priced restaurant. Their tasting menu is $75 per person, which is not bad for a restaurant at that level, at that caliber, with that kind of quality food. Their cocktails are phenomenal. It's just a great time there. And restaurants like that, I just love to go like once a year. There's certain restaurants where I'm going to go every year. I'm going to go once a year. Because a lot of times if you go to a really rich restaurant, like a rich restaurant in quality and substance, you just, it's just like, it's a treat. It's a savory experience. It's like Thanksgiving. Like that was a feast. I can't feast like that. I can't go to Kalila like 3-4 times a year. I will just be, I just will feel it's a lot. It's an experience. You just want to have that moment, right? Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like I go to Friday, Saturday, Sunday like once a year. I go like once a year because it's such a very unique, decadent experience that you just don't want to go. You just can't really eat like that and go to something like that a lot, So like White Dog Cafe, I might go to White Dog Cafe like once a month. Like there are certain places that I go to frequently because it's very casual, it's very low key. But a restaurant like Kalila, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Zahav, places like that, Vernick, right? You gotta go. You can't go like all the time. Like the Love, I've been to the Love maybe 4 or 5 times this year. Because it's a very fast, casual place. I can go there, get a drink. A Kitchen, I've gone to A Kitchen a couple of times this year. Like there's certain spots where you can just go frequently like that. Because it's not going to be super, super monumental. You gotta breathe, just space that stuff out. So Kalila, I did my annual checkup there. Still phenomenal, still great, still wanted to go to the city and the region and in the country. Another great restaurant I went to, I hit up my girl, my good Judy Charnay, who is just fabulous. I love her to pieces. We went to William Maharon's, which I went there early this year and gave you all a review. And then I went to their pizzeria, Maharon's Pizzeria. I went again because they had a pizza takeover with Chef Justin Simile of Slow Fires NYC. So Slow Fires NYC, Slow Fires in New York City, is a very popular pizza spot, okay? A lot of people I know in New York that talk about pizza, I hear good things about Slow Fires all the time. I've never been in New York, but the chef there came to Philly and specifically came to William Maharon's in Fishtown to promote this cool event. So this takeover was that he made the pizza. There was special recipes. He brought out his, fire roasting oven like outside, and they made the pies outside in his pizza cooker. It was amazing. It felt like a barbecue where this guy was literally outside. Like they had the picnic area, they have an outdoor garden area that Charnay always wanted to go to eat, but never could make it because it was either late, it was raining or something like that. But she always wanted to go there. And so funny enough, everything worked out where we was able to go and have a good time. But when we were there, they had the outside, situation, pizza maker thing set up, and they were making the pizza fresh and hot. And then they will bring it to the table right when they made it. And this is all taking place outdoors. And if you all was outside on Saturday night, it was the best weather. I don't know. Maybe I don't go out to eat outside often, but I don't really do alfresco dining often because either it's too windy, too wet, too weird. But this was the perfect place to eat outside. Like we was there from like 7 to midnight. We literally talked for like 5 hours. We ate and drank and had about maybe 3 or 4 pieces, had pasta, had salad. We literally like ate and drank and just talked about life for like 5 hours. It was just incredible. Like, it was a marathon. Like, we were just downloading and catching up on everything. She's just great. It was just such a great conversation. And it was just like, just endless. Like, there was just nothing else. Like, my phone wasn't really ringing. Her phone wasn't really ringing. We was just in the vibe, just in the groove. And, yeah, it was just a very great dinner. But the pizza was fabulous. For what I hear, some of those pizza recipes will be at Maharian's Pizzeria, which is taking place during Restaurant Week. So if you want to try Maharian's Pizzeria, not Maharian's because that's in Fishtown. There's no Fishtown Restaurant Week happening. But they do have a pizzeria called Maharian's Pizza. That is in Market East. That's downtown in Center City. It's actually connected to was across the, okay. So this area, because I want to make sure people know, because it's kind of enclave. So if you know where the Wayward is, and you look across the Wayward, it's the Canopy, right? The Canopy is right next to, it's connected to Wayward. The Canopy is connected to Wayward. And then, of course, there's that Federal Donuts right there, right? In that little garden area, little plaza area, right across is Maharian's Pizzeria. It's literally facing the Wayward in that little nice little alley, little cute little plaza area that they got over there around Market East. That's where it's at for people who just want a visual reminder. It's literally right across from the Wayward. You can't miss it over there. Cute, intimate, outdoor, indoor eating. It's a nice spot to go. So, want to put that out there. And then lastly, I am proud to announce that I am nominated for a Black Podcast Award. Ernestly Speaking, okay, is nominated for Best News and Politics Podcast. This is the first ever award nomination my podcast has received. Part of why I never really submit for anything is because my podcast is not like, it's independently produced. So it's not like through a company or through some agency or some space. So oftentimes, normally, right, with podcasts like that, just like publications, right? If you are a writer at Philadelphia Magazine, New York Times, whatever, if you want to be up for award consideration, major publications and outlets, that's what judges are looking at. They're looking at considering things through a major mainstream, vehicle, right? Most podcasts that's out is from, iHeartRadio or Spotify. And y'all know I don't fuck with Spotify. They come from certain types of like companies like, CNN or they produce podcasts. All these different like podcast companies produce podcasts, right? When I tell you all that Ernestly Speaking is independent, it's literally me producing it, editing it, uploading it. It's not going through some type of major branding company. It's not going through, I'm not doing payola. I'm not paying the play. It's none of that. It is literally me pushing it because I want to be able to talk about what I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it, when I want to talk about it. If you do a podcast deal where you sign with a company, you don't own the rights to your podcast. You don't control what you say. They do the editing. They take out what they want to take out. They leave in what they want to leave out. They tell you not to talk about certain topics. They can cancel your show. They can do whatever with your show. They can control what kind of guests you have. I don't want that. This is literally the one project in my entire career where I don't consult with anyone except my lawyer. But that's it. Now, that makes sense because in journalism, and you want to get paid, right? You gotta talk to editors. You gotta talk to your lawyers. You gotta talk to the various people because your work is coming out of an outlet that is bigger than yourself, which is fine, right? But I do journalism in a certain way for those publications where, I get that. So there's no arguments there. But when it came to this podcast, I always wanted it to be uncensored and unfiltered. And so that is what you get every single Monday, except 2 Mondays of the year. That's what you get with Ernestly Speaking. You get a very raw, unfiltered broadcast. And so that is, what I pay for that is that you all don't have to deal with paying for subscriptions because there's other ways in which this podcast is monetized. That's a choice. I made that choice when I decided to put it on the platforms I put it on. That's how it works for me. And that's how it works for you all, right? And so that's the joy. What's so beautiful is that the Black Podcasting Awards, they've been around for a couple of years. This is their 5th awards show that they've done. So they've gotten good and they've done it. This is national. There are people, Oprah's nominated. Her Super Soul Sundays podcast is nominated. Shannon Sharp's podcast is nominated in respective categories. Not against me, but in other categories. But they get, this is the Black Podcast. So this is like the NAACP Image Awards for podcasts. Like, I don't want to say BT Awards because, they got a little bit more class than that. But this is, and what's great is that Black podcasting is where it's at anyway. Most of your favorite podcasts are coming from Black voices, Black creators, and for better, for worse. And they really consider podcasts based on quality, based on, popularity, visibility. And so for me to be one of the top 3 finalists in my category speaks volumes. Because there's a certain podcast hosted by a certain Rye and, certain Cross and a certain Gilliam that had a podcast and was talking some shit a couple of months ago about people being haters. And, I'm just grateful for my nomination and that I am nominated, because some folks who was talking that shit, I don't see you in these categories. I don't see you nominated. And you are getting major, money to promote your podcast. You got a budget. You shook your hands with Charlemagne the God and got through his platforms to be able to get a show. I didn't have to do anything to get this nomination. All I had to do is just be real. And listeners like you who promoted it, who got thousands of people listening on a regular basis, hundreds of downloads instantly, hundreds of subscribers, thousands of listeners, thank you. Seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because that's what keeps this going. I'm just being myself. I'm just producing the show that I feel like is not out there. I don't, there's no show like Ernestly Speaking in the podcast universe. It's nothing like this experience. And there are other great podcasts. I'm not saying that I'm the only one people should listen to, but doing it like this, it's nothing that compares. And that authenticity, that realness, all of that shapes my focus. It shapes why I do it the way I do it. And that is, that within itself is the award. They'll announce the winners next week. So, wish me well. I'm excited to know, it would be nice to win, right? But I've just come to a place where it's just I didn't even expect to even be nominated. I didn't even see this coming. So just to even be nominated, just to know that there are people out there that are listening. And I know people are listening, but listening like that to consider me and nominate me and put me in an award consideration for this is just unfathomable. When I made this podcast, I made it with the intentions of just doing a good show. I just wanted to do something that was going to allow me to really debrief and express my opinions and thoughts and just engage with some friends. And then it's taken a life of its own where since then, over the years, we've had some great special guests. We've broken news. We went viral. We've had moments. And so just to have all of those experiences and to know that there's not only people listening, but people nominating and recommending me and putting me in the hat for stuff like this, it's just over the top. So just thank you. I feel like a winner already. It is a win because those in my category, and a lot of people that's being nominated, a lot of these people are not independent producers of their podcast. And there's no shade. I mean, by all means, some of these people are professional podcasters where they do this and this is how they make their money. That's not my situation. This is vacation happy hour money for me. This is money that I'm able to vacation. Like, I was able to go to the vineyard with this money. I was able to, do fun stuff like that. Like, I'm throwing my birthday party, coming up and all that. Like, it's money like that where I'm able to just, really, splurge or do things. It's not, I don't want to go into full-time career mode as a podcaster because I recognize doing it that way, one, doesn't allow me to do the journalism that I really care about. But two, I recognize that when you start getting in those type of situations, then people start feeling like they own you. They own your content. They own your voice. They own your show. And this is one project of mine that I want to just do how I do it. And I love what I do with it. Like, I don't want it, everyone's like, oh, next you're going to do a TV show. I mean, sure. But like, I'm just very content with how things are moving the way it is. I feel like that's what happens to certain people, because we're going to talk about Shannon Sharpe. Y'all know I got some things to say. But when you see people like a Shannon Sharpe, you see people like a Keith Lee, you see certain people where, they do something and it was a great moment and they want to expand very fastly, it gets real reckless. It gets real ruthless and cutthroat. Things start to not merge a certain way. Like when I think about, Tabitha Brown, like she had some things she wanted to do and expand. And, she's done good for herself. She's definitely have created multiple cookbooks and, she's blown up. But in a certain way, a lot of the way that she captivated people and engaged us isn't the same because she's definitely chased the bag. And that's good for her. Get that money. But for me, I don't need to necessarily chase bags. I'm very comfortable. I'm doing really good financially. I'm doing good with my money. I got all kind of great bags and opportunities I'm getting elsewhere. I want to just put something out that just allows for me to be as authentic and frank and as no fucks given as possible under my own umbrella. So that's the beautiful thing about this podcast. And that's one thing that I'm going to keep. This is my baby. This is my public diary. This is my, reality show per se. I want to control it. I want to be my executive producer. I want to be the master of, of the ship, the master of my soul, Invictus, I'm the captain of my ship. I'm the master of my soul. That is the ending line of Invictus. For those who are alphas, you already know why we know that poem. So I'm excited. I'm grateful. And I already feel like a winner. However, whatever happens next Sunday, however the awards, how we find out, if I win, it'll be everything. If I don't, it will still be everything. So stay tuned. So let's get into these hot topics. The presidential debate aftermath, right? I mean, everybody, I think at this point agrees that Kamala Harris won the debate easily. The aftermath has been that there's been an increase in voter registration, nearly 500,000 since Taylor Swift endorsed Vice President Harris. Of course, Donald Trump is losing his mind. He is basically talking about how much he hates Taylor Swift. He is, pretty much melting down about his disregard for her. At the end of the day, she took a stand. She made it known where she stood on the issues. She's standing on business. Short guy, short man can cry, can whine. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And some people will, be in a position where they will judge and they will, feel some type of way. But at the end of the day, she took a stand. And, shout out to her for doing it. At the end of the day, it's nice when people on the right side of history. So I'm not gonna take that from her. What I will say though is that there's a lot of conversations that can be had or said about the role in which celebrities engage. Some people are saying, is this endorsement going to matter? I think it's going to matter for young people that may have decided to sit this election out that might be in a position where they might feel like their votes don't matter, that they shouldn't care. And maybe this might put some fire on them to say, you know what? I need to show up. I need to. And there's a lot of great stuff going on. You know, BET is doing an event in Philadelphia at the Met called Vote Fest. They're going to have JT perform. They're going to have a rapper named Kerr. They're going to have guest speakers. DJ Diamond Cuts, who's always going to get a bag, is going to DJ the event. Local elected officials, voter registration, guest speakers, live performances. All this is going down on September 20th. So if you want more details, BT has posted it up. You know, over 40 years of civil rights organizations over 40 civil rights organizations are going to be a part of this to create National Black Voter Day, which is going to be on September 20th. And the event is going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. on that Friday. So a lot of people are going to show up and show out to get the word out for the vote. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, at least BT coming out and doing something. You know, celebrities, everybody's really trying to get out the vote and get people caring, because it's just been too much reckless talk, right? It's just been too many people. Like, even after the debate, there's folks that's like, you know, they need to do another one because I still don't understand the issues. First of all, a debate shouldn't be an education for anybody. And I talked about that on my special edition episode. A debate is not where you go to learn about the candidates. I mean, you can learn some things, but essentially you got to do the follow-up information. You got to do your own research. And I'm not accepting this bullshit from you, because all these people that talk, they're football fans. They go out their way to watch documentaries, to read up, to Google, to do this. If you can do that for football teams and sports teams, you can definitely do it for elected officials. Go watch some documentaries, read some articles, use Google. Just like you know stats and information about football players and games, you can do the same about elected officials. I don't want to hear that. Okay? These grown-ass men talking like this. Be an adult. You know how to do research. You know how to do what you got to do. Stop playing. It's funny how everybody knew how to hit that deadline to get those pandemic checks, right? In the midst of everything going on, when people need to get that relief and apply for those grants to get PPE loans, somehow everybody found out how to use the internet and learn how to use them systems to apply for those grants and those loans. So let's not act like we don't know how to use government resources and look up campaigns and get information, understand about it. Like, at the end of the day, if you're just disinterested, say that. Okay? Say that. If you don't care, just say that. If you really want to vote for Trump and you don't want to admit that out loud because you know that people are going to judge you as they should, then it is what it is, right? But all this, I don't know, and no one, the candidates are not explaining this to me. Save it. Save it. We are past the point of, we're less than 2 months away from the election, people. Be for real. Be for real. Be for real, because look what we have going on right now. Springfield, Ohio, as you all know, is going through a very dark period of time. In Springfield, you know, ever since Donald Trump used that debate to push the lie that Haitians are eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio, it has led to a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of bigotry, and a lot of xenophobia, of course, around immigration, around race, and all of that. If these were Irish immigrants, there would be no conversation about animal eating, cannibalistic type of stuff. This is playing into a lot of racist rhetoric and stereotypes around people of African descent and cannibalism. This is one of the most disgusting racist tropes in the playbook. And he knows what he's doing. And the reason why this is being entertained is because certain stereotypes about Haitians, about Black folks from foreign countries, right? There's a lot of stereotypes about their cultures, the things they do, the things they eat, the way they pray, whatever, that is fueling it. And that mythicism that plays into it as well. It's disgusting, it's anti-Black, it's racist, it's so problematic. There's no merit to any of this. And the reality is that the lasting consequences of what is happening in Springfield right now should show people, if they have not seen already, which I already know it is what it is, but should just explain to people that if this man gets the White House again, he will continue to lie, but target innocent, vulnerable people. And for those reasons, this man cannot be president again. So if you're worried about the narratives around Haitian pet eating, let's stop. Let's stop. Let's not do this. Let's not even... I don't even like joking about it. Like, I think even the jokes, words hurt, right? But even the jokes, we can't even laugh because people right now in Springfield, Ohio are literally scared. There's been all types of threats. There's been Ku Klux Klan literature, KKK literature around stopping Haitians and immigrants. There's a lot of craziness that's happening in Springfield. And this is just not, I don't know what more to say. Like, I just want people to wake up, use common sense, and just please vote with some common sense. Please do. Seriously. So this week, I want to talk about this briefly, because there's a lot to talk about. But I want to take some time to talk about Angela Rye on The Breakfast Club and the Dr. Jill Stein debacle, which is going viral. You all, kept asking me about it. I really didn't want to talk about it because I don't really care much for Angela Rye. And clearly I don't care much for Jill Stein. And this is a conversation where two people were just, I don't like neither one of them. And I didn't even like neither one of them talking. I didn't like the conversation. I felt like the conversation was pointless for both sides. I felt like the delivery from both of them was just trash. Angela Rye is just annoying. She's annoying. Jill Stein, annoying. Like, both of them are like annoying. It's like if you put Shannon Sharp and Charlamagne the Guy in a room to have a debate or conversation, I'm already checked out because both of them in their own ways are annoying and trash as fuck. Like, both of them are annoying in their own respective ways. And I don't have no respect for either one of them, right? That's how I felt about Angela Rye and Jill Stein. Like, both of them are just like, why? They're both annoying in their own ways. Angela Rye annoys me personally because she's a hypocrite. She's a hypocrite. She is somebody who, like Jill Stein implied, is a puppet, but not a puppet in the way in which Jill Stein described her. But she is somebody who clearly is on somebody's consulting payroll. She's going to chase a bag, but she's never transparent about the relationships that she has and the way in which she's used and positioned to operate, right? Like, it's just so, I just know too much about her that I will never share, and I'm not even gonna go there, but I just already know how she moves. And that's why I can't respect it. I can't respect her. Like, general respect as a human being, absolutely. As a Black woman, I'm gonna always have human decency, respect for Black women, and that is real, right? But for what she do and how she move, I can't respect that. Because I had an experience with her that y'all know about a couple of months ago, and the way in which she tried to do me in a public forum and space, I said, oh, you're that kind of person. You're that kind of person. You will go low and you will lie and you will mislead people because you don't want to concede and be accountable for the dumb shit that you're doing. And when you're dealing with a person that does not play fair and will be ugly and get ugly, knowing that they're wrong, will purposely twist words and create distraction, and you will do that to a Black queer man, you do that to anybody. I don't fuck with her. Don't fuck with her. I don't. I don't trust her. I don't bang with her. Don't put me on a panel with her. Don't put me near her. I don't trust her. Because that's the kind of person that will lie on you. That's the kind of person that will purposely fuck with you because they don't want to look in the mirror and deal with themselves. She's a gatekeeper and she's fake. And I will say that if she was around. And if she was to say, tell me how I'm fake, tell me how I'm this, tell me how I'm that, let me pull out those receipts. And I'm going to go line for line on actual things you've done and things you've said that will further that. Let's start with the fact, okay, shall we, that you're sitting up here on The Breakfast Club, knowing how Charlamagne the God is, knowing what he represents, knowing how he moves, and you're over here consistently holding his water, consistently defending him, consistently trying to normalize him in spaces where this man has been sexist, has been misogynistic, has been anti-black. And you're trying to act like this is, oh, brother Charlamagne. Girl, bye. Right? Like, look at this platform, right, that The Breakfast Club is in. You got DJ Envy that is really pressed on trying to act like he's this open thinker. Dude, make sure you can't even talk. You know, this dude talks about, he's very much does not support Kamala, child. That man is entertaining the Green Party, third party shit, want to have all these opinions about Kamala and this, that, and the third, about the community. Dude, you promoted a man that fucked over the community. And no, I'm not talking about Charlamagne the God. I'm talking about that real estate shit. Dude, we ain't forgot when you was out here pushing and promoting and platforming this dude who scammed black folks in black communities, right? That scam folks of money, that is facing lawsuits and got all these criminal charges. Dude, we ain't forgot. But how can I? You cheat on your wife, publicly disrespected your wife. So if you would cheat on a woman you gave vows to, dude, you can't talk to me about loyalty. You can't talk to me about community. You can't talk to me about respect. Go sit down. And then everybody else, everybody else a part of The Breakfast Club, it's already a shit show. The fact that they even gave Dr. Jill Stein a platform to even go on that show, okay, whatever. Because they want to play neutral. They want to play both sideism. What's funny is they have spent their entire platform pushing transphobic narratives, pushing anti-LGBTQ narratives, just pushing all kind of rhetoric. And the level of over-indexing of anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ narratives on that show compared to the small number of actual openly gay and trans people they've had on their show. I mean, what am I saying? This is a toxic show. This is an unserious show. And for Angela Rye to use these platforms to think that she's going to do something profound is a joke. Dr. Jill Stein going on there, trying to convince people. This is the umpteenth time she ran for office. Like, please. What I get annoyed with shows like this is that Angela Rye is so desperate to try to have a moment. It's obvious that the whole idea of dunking and all that performative, been there, done that, know what that looks like. I know what it looks like because I've done it before. Like, I know what it looks like. I know what it is. And I'm at a point where it's like, okay, when you're younger and you're navigating, sure, right? You find these ways to interact with people. But as you get older through time, you begin to realize, wait a minute. We got degrees. We got resources. We got money. We got connections. Why are we playing in the sandbox with these kids? Why are we acting childish? Why are we not, channeling our resources and our energy to empower people? Why are we consistently having these stupid arguments with stupid people? What a waste. What a waste. Like, that's how I feel. I look at some of these people and I'm just like, what a waste. Why are you doing this? Oh, because you're an entertainer. You're here to entertain. Because if you was actually trying to really do meaningful work around these issues, you would not keep wasting your time going viral for trying to tell off or go off on somebody about something that you already know they're not going to move on. But this is what the industry do. The industry is so obsessed with self-grandizement. It's so obsessed with posturing and positioning. It's all about your peers and the people who can call you and text message you and say, oh, you went off on this person, so and so. I know what this looks like. And the crazy part is that they're not doing it to super powerful people. They're wasting their time on low-hanging fruit. I guess that's called entertainment. I guess that's what people find interesting out here. I guess. As for me, so let me just, to talk about the actual things that took place. So, the thing about Jill Stein is that Jill Stein is a chaos agent. Jill Stein isn't trying to actually win the presidency. She doesn't think she's going to win. She just wants to be able to push the needle on trying to convince voters or even scare the Democratic Party into taking more radical positions, which is effective in its own way. The problem is that Jill Stein could do that without necessarily doing it on a presidential level. Like, Working Families Party has had success in a city like Philadelphia because they picked the battles, right? They've gotten better. They weren't always that strategic, but they've gotten smarter at knowing when to pick their battles in certain elections, and they've had success. The problem with the Green Party, specifically Jill Stein, is that they're not picking their battles. They're not building actual power in the ways in which we view electoral power. And Jill Stein will make all these different arguments, but at the end of the day, when do you realize that you're not the one? Like, when do you realize that you shouldn't be the one to be in front? And so seeing this older white woman take up space in this way, I find it to be very telling. Like, if the Green Party was really serious, right, why not run a more progressive or fresh black candidate? A woman, a black woman or a black man or somebody, who comes from a marginalized background to really carry the needle, really move the needle for that movement. But to have the same tired person who pops up every 4 years in the public eye, it's just disingenuous. And nobody can name, the things that Jill Stein has actually done, like actually has done. It's like, I don't hear about her until every 4 years when people try to act like, I guess I feel like, every trash can needs a lid. Maybe for voters who don't want to vote for, either candidate, they purposely vote for Jill Stein, not because they think she can win, but because they just want to click off a box because they don't like a candidate either or. There's always going to be that percentage of people. But I feel as though, maybe that's one less vote for Trump. But then I argue, is that a less vote for Kamala, right? I don't know. But I always say that there's always a margin of error, and she's literally the margin of error. She's not actually a vote. She's a margin of error. Like she's the person, the percentage number that, give or take a few, could go left or right. She's the margin of error. Like her particular percentage number of votes. Good luck or not. That's what I got to say about that. So in Philadelphia City Council, this week was a big week. A lot of people have been following the Chinatown Arena. I knew this was going to be a big conversation eventually within the city. And Mayor Cherelle Parker has done a town hall. It was this past week. She spoke to the crowd. And I listened to her speech. in my opinion, it was probably one of the best speeches I've heard in a long time from an elected official, from a mayor. Clearly better than Eric Adams, who, let me just take a sidestep here. New York, what's going on, baby? Like, New York, the New York political scene right now is literally on fire. Like, the police commissioner has left following a search in their phone. Now, this is probably like the second, this is like the second police commissioner to leave since Adams's first term. I don't know what that second term looking like. I don't think he's going to get reelected a second term. And to be honest, I feel like the feds are going to come marching in very soon. There's too many people in his senior level team that's had raids, submitting their cell phones to be checked on. Eric Adams just looks very weak right now. And it's looking real. I mean, I thought that Rudolph Giuliani could be arguably the worst mayor in New York history just on all of his downfall, right? But maybe Eric Adams might be having that fight. I just feel like black mayors in New York are like SZA coming to come to Philadelphia. It just never works. Like, we can't get SZA to come to Philadelphia for shit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up the SZA curse in Philadelphia. Because every time she's often booked to come to a show, she either doesn't come, it either gets canceled, things don't work out. And the irony is, it happened with her latest tour date, where she had to reschedule. And it also happened with Made in America, where she was supposed to perform at Made in America, and then that whole Made in America festival got canceled. For whatever reason, SZA in Philly, I mean, I don't know. She just can't come to Philly. It's just always something going on. That's how I feel about black mayors. There's only been one black mayor before Eric Adams, and that's Dinkins, who was in the late 90s. And his seat got taken by Rudolph Giuliani. Rudolph Giuliani ran against him first, and I think pulled out initially. And then when, Dinkins won, which was historic, because he's not even from New York originally, he's from Jersey, actually, but became the New York mayor, and a lot of progress was happening. A lot of people, it was a historic time. But, after he ran for re-election, and he lost to Giuliani, who ran a more aggressive racist campaign against him. And here we are. But I say all to say that we've been making these comparisons. People have been making these comparisons to Cherelle Parker and Eric Adams and just giving her hell. And she makes it very clear. First of all, that has to stop, because that's just not what it is anymore. I think the comparisons at this point are ill-mannered. To compare them at this point would just be, it would just be intellectually dishonest. At this point, the level of engagement, first of all, the mayor has only been in office for less than a year. It's been, roughly 9 months now at this point. So to just even label her alongside Eric Adams at this point just seems so intellectually dishonest. That's where I want to start off with. But the other aspect about, Mayor Parker is that she has been very upfront and frank about her positions, and she's also making it known to people who she is and what she's about. And her speech that she gave around the Chinatown Arena, I thought was one of the best speeches I've heard from elected official in a long time. And I don't think, because a lot of people are in their feelings and they have all these, they come in with all this. Like, I've just have realized how immature adults are when it comes to retaining, processing, and sharing information. Like, oh my goodness, like, what are we doing here? I think the thing for me is that if you're so mad, right, that you can't even let a person convey a message, and this is a person that holds the key as a stakeholder and decision maker in the situation, if you won't even let that person express their thoughts or share their views, then how do you think you're winning here, right? Like, how do you do it? A lot of people came in there at that town hall, which was also at the convention center. It was on Wednesday, September 11th. If you can't even be respectful to the decision maker and give them the proper space to express their opinions and thoughts, before yelling, booing, and shouting over, then what are you doing? What are you doing? What's your intention here? And so I've seen a lot of that type of behavior, with the Parker administration for quite some time. But the beautiful thing about her speech is that she breaks down several things. One is that she clarifies, says, hey, everything you heard about the arena, everything, any backdoor deals, anything that took place prior to her administration is not her issue. That's not how she's going to move. She's not going to, change up anything. Everything that is she's treating, what she said basically is that everything regarding the arena, her administration came in January 1st. It starts fresh for them. They're not going to look at what the Kennedy administration deals or promises or positions. She's not letting people have that with her. She's very big on letting her team look at everything with a fresh pair of eyes. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the fact that she's walking into the situation with a pair of fresh eyes. Everything is getting looked at by her team, and they're looking at everything and evaluating everything. So everything with this proposal, all of that is being looked at with a new perspective, right? It's not, okay, Kenny told me don't do the arena, I'm not going to do the arena. No, everything is new with her. And I really appreciate that. And so she talked about how she needs to be in many ways. Do not judge her for the sins of her predecessors past. Which I think people forget about when they talk to her, when they address her. I think they forget about that she needs to have the ability to make her own independent decisions in her seat. Another thing that she did really well was she talked about how she's come to understand this issue from both sides, right? Recognizing that, the members of Chinatown built, a life for themselves and built businesses and small businesses, and they built a life for themselves and a community for themselves. And, pretty much, laid out that this involves a community of people that literally has a history and a heritage that you can't put a dollar sign on. And that being in a position where they could lose their livelihoods and that is endangered, is heavy on her heart. And she's thinking about that, and she considers all of those things. She says that, and then she says, and she makes it important to note that at the same time, she also recognizes neighborhoods and communities of people who lived in areas where folks came in and took wealth out their neighborhoods and communities, took opportunities from them. And in many ways, they're in predicaments that are in dire straits. I hope people are picking up what she's putting down and what she was talking about. But she juggles between this idea of this dilemma and makes it very clear that what she's going to be considering and what's going to be shaping is that she's going to see, does this 76ers arena deal and this proposal, does it give a return on investment for the entire city? Does the entire city benefits from this holistically? And if it doesn't, that's going to create some of the disappointments, the resets, the boundaries of how she navigates what's next. And so I have a prediction. I have a big prediction on what I think she's going to do based off of listening to her speech and also talking to members of the city council. But I have a real thought process. I explore some of it on social media. I talked about some of it on social media, but on this podcast, I'm gonna get a little bit more specific and name some names and really put some things in perspective on what my prediction is about how she's gonna move. Now, let me be clear. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but in my mind, I'm very much confident that my prediction on this is gonna be right. But you never know. So our prediction is that I think the mayor is not going to go through with this arena. I don't think it makes logical sense for her to. I don't see the real political, social, and cultural gain that she would get from this. to justify the headache and total chaos the politics and operations and the political backlash will be. So for starters, let me be very clear. I do understand the allure of the arena as an arena, right? I think there are people who would like to see Philadelphia get a boom and buzz and blossom in a national conversation. I do understand the attraction of something like this and the promise or the hope of what it could mean financially for the city and how it can help raise the profile of Philadelphia in a national conversation, all of that kind of stuff. But the problem is the deal itself isn't that good. Like, it's a lot of posturing, like financially, right? I think the accurate number is around $350 million it could probably generate in revenue gain. I mean, in this conversation, you have a billionaire proposing something of this magnitude, but can't even secure $1 billion. There's a lot of conversation of $1.5 billion in revenue, but that seems to be inflated, and the report doesn't seem to support that accusation. The other issue is the traffic. Like, this would literally reshape, refocus the entire center city. Like, it's not just going to impact Market East. Everything in the city is literally going to be shaken up by this arena by itself. And then, of course, before we get to the major one, right, this entire proposal is going to hinder on everything else having to basically upgrade and get to par, even though, here's the thing, it's a novelty proposal. What I mean by that is that it's not like the city doesn't already have an arena. It's not like the city don't have several of sports spectrums. Like, this whole ordeal is a desired interest of a billionaire who does not no longer want to lease an arena, but wants to completely own something all to himself and wants the 76ers to have their own arena because several other sports teams do. It has nothing to do with the logistical need. It's not like we don't already have an arena. It's not like there's not a place that the 76ers is already playing at. It's none of that. There's already a clear-cut sign that the arena is already, is there. And people have gotten used to it being in South Philly. And there's nothing that speaks to the need to have a 76ers arena by itself, outside of just ego and vanity. The argument around jobs, some people say it's just going to replenish old jobs. That the argument about brand new jobs will be a temporary fixture for the development, but it will not be long-sustaining new jobs that's going to really impact Philadelphia as much as people might think it will. So that's just the proposal itself. Like, that's just the proposal's value and hiccups on itself. Now, all these other factors that the mayor has to consider, right? The social, political, cultural things, right? That is the stuff that no one seems to be talking about from the pro-arena side. Like, all these pro-arena people are like, oh, this is going to be great economic boom. We're going to make money. This is going to be money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but there's other implications that impact people's livelihoods, quality of life issues, and other major issues that are bigger than just some jobs, some money for labor unions, and, a couple other folks in dollars, right? We know that if this happens, Chinatown is done. And I think people have not really understood that on a historical tip, this is a very consequential decision. That if the mayor chooses to go through with this, she is okay with big dollars, right, and big money, basically saying, okay, you can come in here and you can literally knock this out, right? You can literally knock this out. You can literally do something that that will change the trajectory of an entire community of people. And that's serious. You know what I'm saying? That's a serious situation, right? And I think we don't, for other people who are not in the quote unquote community, that lead to see an area like that completely be swept off in this type of way. Yeah. Yeah, that's, no. So something like that to me, is just already coming with its own red flags. But on the political angle of this, that impacts the cultural. We already know that the Chinatown Arena people, and the activists, the people who want to go, that don't want no arena in Chinatown, right? The activists are bigger than just the people in Chinatown. It's activists, progressives, organizers from the region, right? There's no actual popularity. No one, I mean, to be honest, right? Outside of sports fans, outside of, a couple of different folks, right? Sectors, this is not very popular in the city. And so a lot of people have made this argument that, the city's gentrifying, they want to attract people, this, that, and third. There is no, like universally, no one really wants this arena, like outside of the private interest and the financial interest and the labor interest, right? These little interest groups, right? Outside of them, the larger section of the city doesn't seem to be gung-ho wanting this. When I go to City Hall every week and I look at the people who are pro-arena and anti-arena, the anti-arena people are not just coming from Chinatown. They look like the city of Philadelphia. The people that support it are literally people who are specifically connected to unions. But as far as and of course you got the developer folks, right? Some of these developer people who seem to benefit financially. But you don't see the larger swath of people in the city who are just excited about this. And some of the people that's hyping this up, some bigger stakeholders, don't actually live in Philadelphia proper. So the way that looks, I just don't see this citywide outcry for it. When the city of Philadelphia wants something, right? I think about the Comcast situation, right? When there was a conversation about having another big company outside of Comcast, Amazon. Remember the Amazon headquarters? There seemed to be this idea that maybe an Amazon headquarters in Philly. I mean, I just remember there was a lot of massive interest about that. I personally wasn't crazy about the idea because I didn't think the city could really get it, because I felt like there were so many other factors the conversation around jobs and things of that nature. But there was a collective universal campaign of people who was really trying to campaign and really big up the idea of having the arena. I mean, the Amazon headquarters. This is a couple years ago for those who remember that whole debacle, right? We didn't get it, and we moved on. But I do remember that there was a lot of citywide hype around the idea of it. And then it didn't happen and people moved on. But in this situation with this arena, it's I don't see that. I don't see that citywide excitement. I feel like there's just been so many more questions than answers, especially when the people that's behind, this arena were some of the people that was behind, taking the gallery out and replacing it for Fashion District. And Fashion District, as you all know, has not really popped off to be what it needs to be. So that tells me a lot of what I know or what I can expect from some of the pushback around this. That this does not appear to be a situation that even has the larger heart of Philadelphia rooting for it. So then the politicalness of it. For starters, this arena will not actually exist until after Mayor Cherelle Parker is in office. And I'm talking not first term, but the second term. This is going to take about 10 years, 8 to 10 years or something like that. The mayor will be out of office by the time this arena goes into effect, which means that for her entire term as mayor, she's going to literally have to deal with the ongoing protests, demonstrations, consistent backlash, concerns, complaints scandals that might come in between, everything related with this very, very, very controversial project. She's going to have to engulf all of that so much that it can impact any type of endeavors that she might want to do. Any other major political things that she might want to do that involves the community, that involves other matters that's pertinent to the community. This is going to be a dark cloud that's going to distract from that. And you're doing all of this for something that, if it is beneficial, if it does quote unquote work out, which it will not, but let's say it did, you're not even going to be able to inherit politically the benefit of it once it's in place. Your successor will benefit off of it. Or the person who successes you, the person who will be after you that succeeds your role, the next mayor, the 101st mayor of Philadelphia, if the Park administration has 2 terms, which historically it looks like it would, because in Philadelphia, I want to say the majority of mayors for like the past 30 something odd years have pretty much had 2 terms. So it wouldn't be a shocker if Mayor Parker gets incumbency. That wouldn't be a shocker. It would be on par. Even if you're not as great as a mayor, like someone like Kenny, right? Kenny got 2 terms, and Ed Rendell, of course, got 2 terms, and John Street got 2 terms, and Nutter got 2 terms. Like Wilson Goode even got 2 terms after dropping a bomb on innocent people. Innocent children died because of the move bombing. That was in Wilson Goode's first term. So to get a second term after something like that, it's very much a safe bet to say that if she's in good health and good shape and all that, she will get a second term automatically. So again, there's going to be all of that political backlash that's going to happen. And in some ways, right, the legacy of this, like when we look at history books 30 years from now, even maybe 20 years, right? There will be, when we say what happened in Chinatown, what happened to this community that had been a major part of the identity of Philadelphia's culture. It will go down that a sitting mayor, just like many years ago, when they said a sitting mayor made the decision to drop a bomb on its own citizens, it will go down in history that this mayor made a decision to allow billionaire developers to completely gut an entire community of color. That literally this development deal will literally kill Chinatown. And that it didn't die on its last leg. It died because the mayor of the city chose to get rid of it for a developmental property. I just don't think she will want that blood on her hands. And how do I know? There's a very simple political reason that is bigger than just her alone. Because city council really doesn't want it on their hands. And I think people don't understand how government works. So in this situation, right, let me be very clear. This building cannot move without city council's involvement. City council, because of zoning laws, has to vote on it based on the fact that zoning in the city is dictated by proposals and things through city council. The way that this is currently set up, city council has not decided to take this issue up within themselves. Traditionally, such an idea could easily be a city council matter. But because of the weight and magnitude of this decision, they have pushed it and have put it in the mayor's hands. The mayor has to create the bill. She has to propose this bill. And then when she proposes it, then it goes to city council. And then city council has to then vote for it. If the mayor says no, there will be no bill. And I heard that directly from the mouth of Council President Kenyatta Johnson. The fact that city council themselves are not taking any initiative. Even Squilla, who is, this is in his district, Center City District, because he's not going to take the bill up, because he's not trying to initiate this without the mayor. Nobody in city council wants to touch this. This will go to the mayor. The mayor will make the decision. And what I've heard on background from many elected officials at council and individuals that work carefully with the legislation of city council members, I can tell you that a majority of city council members don't really want to deal with this. They don't want to have to make a decision on it. What's funny about city council, and I said this before, is that city council is very risk averse. They take risks when they think they can get away with it. Meaning, when most Philadelphians don't know what's happening, what's going on, they'll make the decision. If there is some financial benefit, if there's some situation in which they can benefit from and no one knows about it, they'll take a big risk then. I tell people about safe injection sites, right? People, progressives don't like safe injection sites. But here's the thing. A majority of Philadelphians have concerns about safe injection sites. Enough that it was easy for city council to make that policy happen because so much of the public just seemed to cringe about the concept. Now, we all know that there's research that should alleviate a lot of the concerns of everyday Philadelphians. But unfortunately, popular opinion in favor of safe injection sites was just not there on the massive scale. That's just being frank, right? Like, people just was not for it. The soda tax situation, there was a manufactured hype around it where people largely thought that the soda tax was going to do what it was going to do. And there was enough public support that it appeared to be a lot of players were invested. Now, how they were invested, we saw who the major architects and supporters were. And now these people are indicted and convicted of crimes, right? Except Mayor Jim Kenney, of course. But when you look at, Johnny Dock and Bobby Heenan and some of the people behind those scenes, the politics behind the soda tax was not the politics to support public education. There was other issues going on between certain unions and the Teamsters, right? But because of all those other politics, it appeared to be lucrative to a lot of people to support and get on behind it. This is not the same situation with the 76ers Arena. Because as much as people think that all the rich people in Philadelphia and the billionaires are behind it, that's not true. There's a company called Comcast that also has a stake in not supporting this arena. So you have Comcast, right? And you also have progressives, and you also have other community folks, and you also have some developers in Center City that feel like the arena will actually create chaos for other business projects they might have. They also don't like this. And they got some big stake in this, right? City Council benefits from Comcast. They benefit from certain other players. They don't want to publicly avenge, Comcast. Because to be real with you all, these developers do not do the same community, citywide outreach and support that a Comcast does. And so if you fuck over Comcast, that continues to want to invest in the city for these guys, right? No. This is what I mean by return on investment. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Some people want an arena, but do we need the arena? Do we actually need the arena to address the issues impacting Philadelphia? Are there other alternatives? The first question, no. The second question, yes. And because of that, that is why City Council is not pressed to keep this arena, to do this deal. So we see right now, City Council wants to be agnostic right now. They don't want to take a position either way, even though their lack of robust passion to actually vote on this should show you that they don't want to touch this issue because they really don't want the arena. If they really want the arena, if they really thought it was good, if they really thought they could pull this off, they would all be in sync to make this happen. They don't want this because they also don't want to deal with the protesters. They also know that even if the mayor keeps incumbency, these city council members, they don't get their incumbency guaranteed. anybody who votes against Chinatown, they're going to get challenged. And they're going to have a lot of people, including Comcast, that might fund them, their opponent, over them. Because this is not just a vote against Chinatown. This is a vote against Comcast. This is a vote against other people who have other interests that outride these developers. This is bigger than what you're being hearing in the news. This is bigger than what you've been seeing on social media around talking points that are being rehashed. It is. And here's the thing, right? Some of you all might think, oh, well, that if they vote against this, aren't they voting against labor? Not necessarily. The labor unions and the developers, right? They're going to need the mayor and city council for other projects. Remember, zoning, right? Zoning, councilman prerogative. These elected officials, right, are going to have to have power. They're not going to, see, the reality is that everybody else in this situation, right, that's not these developers in favor of the 76 arenas, right? They can leave the city. They don't have to buckle. You're talking about the people here, right? They don't have to buckle to city council in the same way. And they can also still sack city council and hurt city council politically. They don't have to support these current elected officials. They can replace them. But you can't replace Chinatown. Like, you cannot create a new Chinatown. You cannot give these people back their land. You cannot give these people the reparations to build and do what they've done. You can't. But you can replace politicians. And that logic alone makes me realize that city council does not want the mayor to make a decision that politically screws them over, especially when this mayor needs the support of city council for future endeavors when she's just been in the position for 9 months. Now, if this was a second term ordeal, I could see a lame duck situation that would make her potentially, she might move on a lame duck move. She done already gotten what she want. If she was at the end of her second term, I could see the persuasion to do it, right? But this is too early for her. And even Kenny, right? Kenny did not want to make this decision. Even as a lame duck mayor, everybody was like thinking, okay, Kenny, what do you have to lose? But Kenny's emotional consciousness would not allow him to do it. Because at the end of the day, he knew that this mayor was that this black woman in this seat was going to inherit a bad decision that he made. And now she inherits a bad proposal. And there's only one way to go. And the answer is no. I don't think she's going to do it. I don't think she will. And again, let me break down the logistics. If she says yes, the proposal does not automatically get passed. The bill has to go to city council. And the city council has to vote. I don't think the vote will be uniform. Some members of council might say yes, but there are definitely going to be those who say no. And this will divide city council. If they have to vote on this, this is going to divide city council. The progressives that are on city council, I can count the people. You got Gautier, you got Rulandahl, you got Jay Young, right? Who's not I wouldn't say he's a gunno progressive, but I've spoken to Jay Young. Jay Young does not think this is a good idea. Rue does not support it. Gautier doesn't support it. Nicholas O'Rourke doesn't support it. Kendra Brooks don't support it. That's 5 people, right? You got people in the middle who I think can be moved. Isaiah Thomas. I think he can be moved. Kathy Gilmore Richardson, she might abstain. You might have people that will abstain. Curtis Jones, I don't think he'll support it. Seeing how he's been talking on council, I don't think he supported it. That's 8 people right there. I think Jim Harity will support it. I think he'll support the arena. I mean, he's been the most vocal on his interest there for the union stuff. Squilla, he might abstain. So if you got nay votes and abstentions, I don't think it's enough for them to get it. But then you might have some people that might say, okay, the mayor said it. Maybe I might say yes, right? Like a Cindy Bass, like a Ketsi Lozada, like an Anthony Phillips, maybe, right? It's sticky. It's sticky. I don't know if they'll have the votes to say yes to this arena. That if it goes into city council's hands, they make the ones, but they don't want to make that decision. So the best way that everybody gets away from it is that the mayor just says no. Because if the mayor says no, no bill, and city council's free. And you know what the beautiful thing about this is that they'll have an opportunity to consider alternatives than the arena. What we're hearing right now is that there's other proposals for something that will not kill Chinatown, something that will be a lot more painless and will also give the city benefit in a way that does not feel like total traffic and chaos. These ideas are even coming from Comcast. So, again, solutions are being proposed. Ideas are coming. If I was the mayor and if I was city council, I would rather see the alternative conversations before making a strong decision that can impact people. As for the 76ers arena in Camden, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. I think it's a bunch of hot air. I don't think that's going to happen either. They'll bluff, they'll huff, they'll puff, they'll threaten to burn the house down, but I don't see them moving on this in the way that people might assume. So I'm not convinced that that's going to happen per se. But stranger things have happened. But that's my prediction. I don't think she's going to do it. I don't see how she fully benefits from it. And politicians are selfish, slightly, right? They want to see what's in it for them, partially. And also what's in it for the city. I don't think the city is going to get as much bang for their buck. History has taught us that. If you look at what happened in D.C., when the whole arena stuff was happening in D.C., if you look at what happened with the Brooklyn Nets and all the drama over there with Barclays Stadium and all that stuff, it never ends well. It never benefits well. The research and history is on the side of folks who don't want this arena. It's always a big old sale where developers will benefit more than the community and the people and the taxpayers. Don't believe the hype. Moving along. So there's been a lot of conversations about, and I've heard this from several people, and this has been a big one for me, Diddy and Don Richard. Now, if you don't know who Don Richard is, Don Richard was a member of Danny Kane, and then she ended up becoming a part of Dirty Money, which was a duo with Diddy, a woman named Kalina, who made a little stint on Love and Hip Hop. And Don Richard is now suing Diddy, accusing him of sexual misconduct and a lot of other bizarre things. I'm not surprised because I remember hearing that, you know, when Diddy, so here's a little rebrush. Now, I think about a year ago, around this time when Diddy was on his love campaign and he was doing all these nice things out the blue, because I feel like he was trying to do image repair. Diddy gave back the rights, or offered to give back the rights of to his artists, right? And what people did not know, and I didn't realize this, is that in giving back the rights to his artists over the years, because remember that was the whole thing. Like everybody felt like Diddy didn't give people the rights to their music and they didn't get no money. There are people who, of course, said they didn't think the value of it was, you know, the money what they would get. Who's to say would they get some money back? Would they benefit from those rights? Who knows, right? But he offered it to his artists, past and present. And part of that whole conversation was that it was contingent upon them signing an NDA. So the NDA basically was like they couldn't publicly speak disparagingly about Diddy, could not, disclose any information about him and yada, 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 yada. On the surface level, one would think, well, of course, that's just part of business. Sign an NDA, do your thing, whatever, right? But then it also raises a red flag of like, well, what do you not want people talking about so bad? And you came hard because for a while you never gave your artists their music rights back. You never gave them anything back, and you didn't care what they said about you. But now you've given them a big thing that they want, and you've dangled it. Now, it was always talks that there was 2 people from Danny Kane that did not go through with this. And we always knew it was Audrey O'Day, the white blonde singer who's consistently been talking about how problematic Diddy was. So we knew she didn't sign it and did it. But we never knew who the other artist was until last week. It was Dawn Richard. She makes sense because she clearly knows a lot about Diddy because she continued to have her career with him and had it and clearly, endured a lot. But I guess really in so many ways wanted to get to the money and wanted to make the best use of her career until that group broke up. And so there's a lot of things there. But we now know that Audrey O'Day and, Dawn Richard did not sign those NDAs. And as a result, they can now sue him and, speak truth. Now, from what I know, Audrey O'Day has not sued Diddy, recently. But Dawn has. And it's for a substantial amount. I believe it's a civil suit. But she definitely makes strong, allegations. Some of which I'm not going to disclose on here, but I did read the deposition, which is public information. But one of the standouts that has been public is that there's an incident in which Richard says, I think she says Richard, she doesn't say Richard. I think there's a special way she pronounces it. But I just know there was an incident in which allegedly in the deposition, and when she makes these accusations, she accuses Diddy of publicly punching Cassie in the face, while Neo, Jimmy Iovine, who is the CEO, the big music exec of Interscope Records, and Usher were present. And Diddy apparently, allegedly, punched Cassie, and they didn't say anything. They kept eating. And this was at a restaurant. They just kept eating. She also notes that she was very much aware of Cassie's abuse and formed a relationship with Cassie and talked to Cassie and tried to tell Cassie to get out the relationship and was very much there, and Diddy threatened her for intervening. Allegedly. These are all allegations. I believe her. I don't think she's lying. I don't think that Dawn is lying. And I don't think the men that she described at that table, I don't think they did say anything. Because I have to look at how they act and what signs, right? It's time for us to have a conversation about Usher. Look, Usher's a sex symbol. Usher's very talented. And even I, in many ways, have tried to, I've been critical of Usher, some of the things he have done, right? But we need to be real about what's happening here. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, I don't know this for fact, but I do think that Usher might have been a victim of abuse in his fame. I will not accuse anyone individually. I just think that some of the ways and behaviors to which Usher has acted shows signs of some level of childhood abuse. I don't know if it's sexual abuse. I don't know if it's physical abuse. I will not speculate that much. But I do feel like that the ways in which Usher acts, even in his current adulthood, show signs of some trauma and some abuse. And when you're a celebrity and you've been exposed with adults, and this has been documented that he has grown up with Diddy's presence and have seen things at a very young age that no 14-year-old should be in an environment of such nature. You got to remember, he had an album out when he was 14 where he was highly sexualized as a teen, right? Doing videos with his shirt off and in bedrooms. It's a lot of things in Usher's childhood that he does not talk about as much now and does not discuss with the context of Diddy. But there's a lot of just over sexualization. And what I'm saying this because we see this with a lot of teen stars. Like, look at those Nickelodeon kids. Okay? How Dan Strider was accused and got cut from Nickelodeon. Like how there were foot fetishes and all this over sexualizing of young people on television. Usher comes from that era where there was not a lot of protection of kids. So the likelihood of him being abused in some level of capacity is not a foreign concept given what we know of child stars in the 90s. That being said, what we know is, because we've seen it in other child stars, is that victims of abuse in those type of dynamics could be complicit of the abuse of other people. And in some cases, might be even abusive themselves. And again, I'm not specifically saying that Usher is an abuser. I'm not saying that Usher is complicit, but the likelihood of someone who had the kind of lifestyle that Usher has had, it's not a concept that is far from the imagination. So then look at the facts that we do know. Russell Simmons left this country abruptly and has not come back because he doesn't want to face the legal, backlash of the allegations of sexual abuse from several women who have accused him in the United States. He is left to Bali. When Usher decided to go to Bali and hang out with Russell Simmons, this man has had to have a lot of cultural, emotional capital that did not sink him. Like it would have sunk other folks who would have made the same trip. America loves Usher so much that they've let him slide on some things. Several things. There was a lawsuit and allegations that Usher allegedly exposed someone to an STI. We haven't heard about that in many years. He kind of just took a little break. And then there was this ultra rebrand where we see a lot of Usher. And I always felt like, why do certain celebrities, regardless of whether we like them or not, seem to be wanting to just really force themselves in a way on us in a way that, yes, we like it, but it's been a lot. We've gotten a lot of Usher. A lot of Usher. And you just kind of want to go, why? I don't know. I have thoughts. But y'all know I can't be out here talking too loose out the mouth on certain stuff that is alleged, right? Now, shit that I know for a fact, yeah, I'm gonna pop off. But I just my spider senses personally feels like there is so much more to this story. And I just feel like shoes are dropping very fast. And it's been dropping pretty fast this entire year. And I feel like we are beginning to enter into the pits of hell on this Diddy situation. The final shoe ain't dropped. We're getting hints though, but it ain't dropped yet. And I feel like everybody around there knows. And everybody's getting way too quiet. And it just seems like every time we what's going on with Diddy? A lawsuit. Another person that's close to him speaking. For me, it's the people that's not speaking. Mary J. Blige isn't speaking on this. Farnsworth Bentley has completely disappeared. Usher just won't talk about it. He didn't name Diddy in his acceptance speech. He ain't said shit about it. $112, where y'all at? But I guess some people did sign NDAs. Mace has consistently been dropping hints throughout his career. Faith Evans kind of taking a step back. I'm just observing, y'all. I'm just observing. So, moving along. Shannon Sharpe. We're going to make this real cute on Shannon Sharpe. We're going to make this real cute. Let me just start by saying that I don't believe Shannon Sharpe personally. I don't believe that Shannon Sharpe had somehow accidentally, there was a Facebook Live. No, I'm sorry. Instagram Live. That with, I have done Instagram Live a couple of times. Anybody who's ever done Instagram Live knows it takes a lot of pushing buttons. It takes a lot of pushing buttons. You have to do a lot of things on Instagram Live in order to make it work. Like, you just don't just drop your phone and go, oh, snap, my Instagram Live is open. It takes a lot of work to get an Instagram Live to operate in a certain fashion. It doesn't just happen sporadically. It's easier to accidentally butt dial somebody, right, on your phone. It's easier to, I don't even know, maybe your camera phone or video phone, your camera might faster, but Nah, buddy, nah. What's interesting to me about this whole leak, right? How convenient that the first time ever that you use an Instagram Live, the first time it ever happens like that to you, it's in the middle of you having sex. Let's start there. And that it suddenly happens not only while you're having sex, but it happens while the phone is not in the bed. It's not on a charger somewhere in your office. That it just so happens to be nicely placed on an area that conveniently does not show your face or shows the face of Michelle, the woman who he's, has had sex with, he claims. And, the name of the person is Michelle. We don't know who the Michelle is. But, that it just so happens that it conveniently and casually happens in a way that allows for both parties in that bed not to be seen in the sexual act, but we can hear them enough to know it's them, and that nobody is exposed visually, but it's enough to confirm that sex was had with said woman and said man. So you got to come to a consensus, because here we go, right? It's clearly not an accident. Initially, this man says he was hacked. Y'all, ain't nobody hacking nobody. Like, how? Because it's a lot. I'm so sick of the hack shit. Y'all, it's just so convenient that people get hacked in these weird occasions. Like, had this man went and did a barbecue cookout or went to a party or something or whatever, I could see that. But just for it to conveniently just kind of randomly happen where, no. Mm-mm. No, no, that's cap. That's cap, okay? So the question becomes, why would he do it? Simple. Because this is an older black man who comes from sports, who is in an environment of men who are hyper homophobic, that care about sexuality, that's in an environment that is also, for those very reasons, homoerotic, right? Because there is an obsession with men proving their sexuality to men, right? Whether it's the size of their penis, whether it is the amount of women they have sex with, the way in which they have sex, that there is this homoeroticism of men infatuated with the sexual nature and environment of other men, like the obsession with it. And the way in which they talk about amongst themselves. The fact that they send each other, like, I didn't even know this. And maybe because I am a queer man and I don't engage in that type of behavior. But like, there is cultures, and I'm going to get real, it's going to get real vulgar here because I got to call this out. But I got to, straight men, I got to call y'all out. I got to talk about how it's very interesting to me that for all of the obsession of calling men zesty and obsessing over men's sexuality and want to use the word zesty and sus, right? That this infatuation with men's sexuality on the queer spectrum, have y'all not recognized how homoerotic you all are? And I will just say, as somebody who is now entered spaces where there's a lot of men, that there is a homoeroticism in some of the interactions among certain men in those circles, that the way in which they engage with each other, and this is not calling them gay. Let me be very clear. Homoeroticism doesn't speak to an actual, being gay, right? It doesn't mean that these men are same gender attracted individuals, but that the way in which they interact with each other heavily revolves around the perpetuation and the interest of other men in a sexual way. And so there's a homoeroticism in which to do. Men talk about each other's bodies and talk about, who they think might or may not have a bigger penis size. The infatuation of how who's sleeping with who and how they're sleeping with them and what they do and what they don't do in the bedroom. Like the infatuation of these conversations amongst each other. But even more homoerotic, and this is something that I found out recently that made me kind of cringe, is that there are subsets of men that will film themselves having sex with women and putting it in group chats of other men. That there are other men that are seeing their friends butt-ass naked having sex. And I'm thinking to myself, let's just say that some of those men in that group are not fully open about the fluidity of their sexuality. That they're not fully transparent that they're gay or bisexual, whatever. That they're getting privy to a space where they get to see men that they might also find attractive performing in this way. And what's interesting about this, now let me be very clear, I am not in any circle or any section of where I am getting any of that. But I know I am now aware, because I hear these stories, that there are men that do this kind of stuff. Like whether they're in fraternities, sports teams, but they will be around each other and they will partake in these types of experiences. I mean, I knew that group sex existed, right? But like, just all of that is very homoerotic. Like as a queer person, I'm thinking to myself, wow, y'all all, I mean, like just think about this. Like you all, will tell people pause and all that kind of stuff or no homo. But you all are literally sending each other videos of yourselves having sex, getting oral sex, having, full frontal sex with other people for your friends to see. TMI. Like TMI. That just seems very like, wait, what? Why? And like, I mean, why be so infatuated? Why need to see the video? What does that do for you? Like, I don't know. Like my friends would never send me videos or pictures or anything of them having sex with other guys. Like we're, lit brothers, we don't do that. Like we're not doing group sex. We're not doing anything like that. We're not, listen, I'm not judging people on what they do, but we're not talking about, like, we're just not doing that. Like, no, when we have tea, we're just not having tea about that. Like, what? That's so weird to me. But there's a lot of men out here that do that kind of stuff. It's more common than not. And so, understanding the Shannon Sharp situation is having to understand that there is a subset of men, Black, Latino, white, whatever, that are in this homoerotic culture where men have to show, they have to prove it, that they have to do it. We see this in upbringing where kids at a younger age, we saw in Moonlight, right? The conversations around guys pulling their, young people pulling out their, and seeing who's bigger than others. You know, this has always been ingrained in masculinity, whether toxic or hyper masculine. Like, none of this is, like, let me be very clear. None of this in curiosity of young people, right? Girls do it with boobs, right? When they're younger. Whose breasts are big and whose breast, like, that's a normal thing in adolescence and puberty, right? Like, let me be very clear. But what's interesting is that as you get older, privacy, intimacy, maturity kicks in. And so to do the same types of behavior way into your 40s and 50s and your 30s, it's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And there is a homoeroticism there. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. And so, that being said, there's a culture of men who film themselves having sex with women for the approval and the visual interest of men. And so, if we know that this is a culture that exists, then we know that we're in a society in which, because Shannon Sharpe, now this is what sports reporters know, there has been gay rumors of Shannon Sharpe for years. There's been consistent conversations of, why does Unc not have a girlfriend? Or, well, who is he, quote unquote, smashing? Who is he having sex with in the league when he was in the league? There was always rumors that he seemed to be, quote unquote, allegedly sus. And I'm not even saying allegedly, because being gay is not a sin. So, like, or even a crime, like, whatever you want to call it. But, like, people have speculated about his sexuality for a very long time. And I think when he was a football player, you know, people didn't see him, you know, on camera. You know, he was playing the sport. So the conversation was never, like, super heavy back then. Because, you know, when he was playing, social media wasn't speculating every little thing. But now that Shannon Sharpe has crossed into mainstreamness, right? You are this older man with all this money. You're an attractive black man. I think he looks good for his age. He keeps himself fit. He's a nice looking man. You know, you're older, you know, you have all this money. Why are you not married? Why does Unc, you know, where's marriage? Why is Shannon Sharpe not married? Why hasn't he found the one at his age? Because most older football players that's retired, I mean, this man is 56 years old. Where are your kids? Do you have kids, right? There's a lot of people that just, when you really think about it, like, this man has been very much like not your typical, you know, guy in the football league, right? Where are the kids? Where, you know, I'm not saying everybody got to have, quote unquote, baby mamas, but it just seems like his personal life is just very much so him. We don't really hear about, you know, there's clearly no children. Just a great football player, no marriages, no ex-wives. I think people would look at that and because of a man of his stature, because we know how hypersexual the NFL is, that you're a Hall of Famer. Where are the wives? Where are the babies? I mean, look, we see, you know, the heartthrob that everybody's crying because Jalen Hurts has a fiance. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, where is that for Shannon Sharpe? And so, let me be very clear. None of that speaks to his sexuality. It should not. Absolutely not, right? But the problem is that because Shannon Sharpe has chosen to benefit off of a toxic masculine environment and space, these are the types of pressures, stereotypes that they put on men like him to perform. And for whatever reason, Shannon Sharpe has not subscribed to that. Like, he did the show with Ocho Cinco, right? He got this show with Ocho Cinco. We all know Ocho Cinco had a wife. He was married to Evelyn Lozada before the violent incident took place with him, right? But Ocho Cinco also has a history of being very out there with women, right? Shannon Sharpe has never had that. And I think that has led people to judge him, in addition to talking about the way he dresses, the way that he wears tight certain pants, the way that, his mannerisms come across to certain people. There's a lot of stereotypes. And it does not look good for Shannon Sharpe in that type of society of men, right? So, given that that's taking place, and to be honest, his show in those interviews, to a certain extent, Club Shay Shay hasn't really been super hot. I mean, it's still relevant, but there had to be a moment, right? He's been trying to chase his virality since the incident with, Cat Williams. So he's been trying to create another moment for himself. And so this is what happens when fame, ego, toxic masculinity, hypersexuality, and homoeroticism, and also misogyny, let's be real, rears its ugly head in a situation like this. That you got a 56-year-old man who, more often than not, most likely than not, created a stunt like this to try to confront the sexuality rumors. Now, I'm not saying that Shannon Sharpe is a gay man that did this to prove that he's not gay. Shannon Sharpe can very much so be a straight man who did this to try to deter the conversation, to basically shut the conversation rumors down. He could also be a bisexual man who decided that he doesn't want people to speculate. These are all allegedly. He could be a lot of men. He claims to be a straight man. He says he's straight. Okay. Again, I just don't see how you accidentally had that happen. I just don't see it. The math is not mathing to me. The math is not mathing. And the reason why I say this, because I got to come in with some facts and some observations. The moment he addresses it on his podcast with Ocho Cinco, immediately the first thing he begins to get on and talk about is how he got a call from Cat Williams around Cat Williams saying, well, they can't say you gay anymore. And it's like, and then it becomes a whole conversation where he spends his energy defending his sexuality, and Ocho is like saying, yeah, nobody can say, you gay and say those terrible rumors about you. And it's like, terrible rumors, like rumors of being gay is just such a bad thing. Like there's a lot of inverted, like unspoken, but obvious, blatant, and also subtle homophobia in all this. That, oh my God, being called gay is such a very horrible, bad thing. Like when I hear people feel very insulted and concerned, that's homophobia, y'all. Like if somebody speculates that you're gay, why are we treating it like it's just such a horrible, sinful, bad thing? Like, oh my God, people think I'm gay. Oh my goodness, like that's a terrible thing, right? If a person is married, right, to a woman, and they're being speculated being gay, the insult isn't the fact that they're being accused of being gay. Because if they're accused of messing with a woman while they're married, let's be very clear, the insult should be being accused of adultery, whether it's with a man or a woman. Like if somebody alleges that, let's say, for example, Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce with women, I think people would be like, oh my, that's not a positive thing. If they said that Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce with other men, it's still fucked up. Like for me, homophobia is thinking that being quote unquote gay is worse than being quote unquote straight as an adulteress. Like if you are cheating and you're cheating on your lover, that's wrong, regardless of sexual orientation involved. To think that being gay makes it worse is to subscribe to homophobia. So I want my straight listeners listening to this show, I want y'all to unpack the ways in which you talk about sexuality around your gay friends, because there's a lot of unspokenness in the subtle homophobia that perpetuate. If you use the word zesty, you're homophobic. If you're out here acting like something's worse because it's gay, you're homophobic. And let's be very clear. People say, well, wait a minute, I'm not afraid of gay people. Phobia means a fear. No, baby, it's an aversion as well. If you have an aversion to queer people, to trans people, to gay sex, an aversion is also a part of homophobia. It's not just a fear, it's also an aversion. So if you have an aversion to the idea that Shannon Sharpe is gay, that's homophobia. That if Shannon Sharpe is messing with a man, if he would have been sleeping with a man or sleeping with a man versus a woman, that you would have some level of aversion to that. Why? That's homophobia. And so I hear a lot of people out here who have gay friends that act like they cool, this, and the third, but the ways in which they talk about this stuff, the homophobia, it comes out. Shannon Sharpe is a single man. If Shannon Sharpe chooses to have consensual sex with a woman or consensual sex with a man, that is his business. And it should not make any of us feel any type of way. If Shannon Sharpe had a girlfriend and he cheated on his girlfriend for a woman or a man, we should be disgusted equally that he betrayed the trust of his lover. But if we are out here like, oh, Shannon Sharpe be out here with women, being a playboy with women, but we find out he's a playboy with men and we feel like there's a problem because it's men, then that tells us a lot about your homophobia in that moment. And so here's my thing. The fact that his friends and everybody is all of a sudden relieved and everyone's like, oh, you prove people wrong. Why does he even have to prove anyone about his sexuality? Why do people still care? The fact that he felt like he had to do all of this is an act of homophobia. The fact that the first thing that came to people's minds that called him was not, oh my goodness, dude, you all right? Like these endorsement deals, you're about to lose your endorsement deals. Are you about to lose the bag, your reputation? Are you worried about that? Are you like the fact that was not the thought of people in his circle, that the fact that he in this podcast was sharing about how everybody was confirming his sexual orientation showed me, dude, those are not your friends. And if your friends don't believe you or cannot defend you or just really just not give a fuck either way, right? Let's be real. Without this being the case, and here's a fun fact that I'll tell you as a gay person. People will still not believe you, Shannon, in spite of this silly little stunt. They will still even think, actually, they might think it even proves more. And some people, in the words of Shakespeare, might say, doth thy protest too much? How I look at it, if you got to do all that, maybe you feel like you got something to prove. But I digress. So this week's Ask Ernest, you all want to talk about a Sunday sermon that I put on my social media. Because sometimes I do Sunday sermons where I talk about observations in my life. And, I talk about, different, different experiences in my life and certain observations, growing up, and just how I've grown my life. And so I want to talk about this segment because I think it's been a pattern in recent months as I've gotten older, and I mean I've been growing up and just getting there. This year has been so transformational for me on so many for so many reasons. And it has. It's just been a very big thing for me growing, just really navigating all of these experiences in my life. I have gotten in recent years, but specifically this last year, have really been unapologetic on being vocal about things that don't comfort me, that does not make me feel good. Meaning in the past, when people would disrespect me, when people would betray me, right? I used to just not speak on it or not vocalize to the person, you know, you had me fucked up, or I'm not okay with this. Because I was always told, you know, saying something and showing your feelings or expressing your discontent with that will make it worse. And as I've gotten older, I begin to realize that that's abusive language. That when you tell a person that is seeking to defend themselves or to establish their boundaries on something, that they'll quote unquote make it worse, that is actually assuaging the harm, right? It's assuaging the harm in the benefit of the abuser, the person who caused the harm, the afflictor, right? And that it doesn't actually give relief or any sense of justice for the person who's been fucked over. And so throughout my career, I was consistently told, you know, bury the hatchet, throw it away, you know, let it be water under the bridge and move on. Because if you say this or you say that, you know, it's going to look like, you know, you can't get over something, blah, 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 blah. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And I've learned that through time. Why do people tell people this? We also talk about the word grace. That's been weaponized. The word grace is being weaponized so fucking much. Everybody's just taking these therapeutic words, these psychology words, and just weaponizing them in ways that are actually creating more violence and harm for people. Like, we're now taking these words and we're giving it to the abusers and the violators to give them an opportunity to divorce themselves from accountability. Nah, not over here. And so I have had some situations in over the past year where I've dealt with folks who just crossed the line, who just really was disrespectful, who just really, you know, did something that just wasn't cool, you know? And I've been in these situations, and in the past, right, I used to just not say anything. But now I'm like, no, that wasn't cool. Or I just distance myself from certain people who've done that, right? So you can imagine what I'm talking about in certain ways. I mean, there's been various situations, whether it's, you know, folks that I was cool with or cordial with, right? That decided they wanted to play both sides between the NABJ shit and the PABJ stuff, right? People who know certain people that was very much, very, very cruel to me and mean to me and rude to me. And, you know, they want to be hanging out with them and being besties with them in a way that is just not about business, but these are your friends. And you want to be in my face and you want to be in their face. And no, right? And there have been people that say, oh, don't get mad at me. Or I'm going to, you know, I hope you know it's okay. No, it's not okay. And there was a time where I would used to lie and say, oh, it's fine, whatever. Oh, you know, it's okay. No, I don't do that anymore. No, it's not okay. Not cool with that. Oh, well, no, well, nothing. If that's what you want to do, you can do it, but I'm not okay with it. I'm not down with that. And I'm at a point where I'm going to stand for myself. I'm going to speak up and say, no, that's not cool with me. If that's what you want to do, you're an adult, but you're not going, but if you care about my opinion is I'm not okay with it. And will this impact our relationship? Yeah, it will actually. You can be honest and you can say it. And whether the person agrees or not agrees, it's fine with them. Because where you stand, where your line, your boundaries are your boundaries. And everybody's grown and everybody can make decisions. And I think some people will like, well, why do people got to choose? Sometimes you do got to choose. Sometimes the stakes are very high and the situation is very real. That yes, actually, there are some situations in my life and my boundaries that if you want to be cool with me, you don't cross those lines. I'm that way with certain friends of mine. There are certain friends of mine who got certain situations and issues, and I just know I'm not going to speak on that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cross that line. I know my friends' boundaries. I know different things, and you just respect folks. You learn how to navigate what you do. You be mindful about it, right? And if you can't do that, if you can't find that uniqueness, then don't use the word friend. I take the word friend very seriously. You could say, hey, you're an associate. You somebody I work with, I deal with, or, I frequent with, but I'm not, you can't get the word friend. A lot of people want to hold on to the word friend, but don't also want to actually uphold what it means to be a friend. And the root word of friendship is loyalty. Loyalty is what drives a friendship. Trust is what drives a friendship. If you don't have trust and loyalty in a friendship, you ain't a friend. You're not a friend. You can't say the word friend. And in recent years, I have recognized and understood what friendship really means. And there's a lot of people who just don't know how to be a friend. There are people who don't understand what it means to be loyal because they have their own trust issues, their own insecurities, and they got their own hangups and their own trauma. And all of that is real, but it's not my burden to bear. And so I have recognized that in the past, I took a lot of personal sacrifices that cut at my self-care, cut at my personal space, that violated my personal levels. And I got to a point where I realized people took advantage of that. People took me for granted. They just thought, oh, he'll be all right with this. Oh, he'll be okay. At the expense of my respect. So I have definitely taken my power back in the past year and have been very transparent with people. You cool with that person? You can't be cool with me. Period. You're going to pick a side or I'm going to pick one. And let me be very clear. I'm not a selfish person where I am trying to dictate every situation. But I do have specific things, right? And let me be very clear. There are people who are very much like, I don't like anybody. I don't like everybody. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not that person. But there are actual, fair, legitimate triggers and situations that, for me, it don't work for me. And if that means that I don't be friends with a person because they will not respect that boundary, then I'm okay with that. I don't need 30, 40, 50,000 friends that are going to disrespect me and walk all over me. I would rather have a good 25, and I got some friends. I would rather have a good tribe of about 50 real ass people that I fuck with, that are real people, right? That I know genuinely rock with me, than have 500 people that I don't know. I got to turn my back and look to the left, look to the right, because I don't know where they stand on anything. There's a difference, is what I'm getting at. I would rather have the core of folks I have in my life that respects me than let any new people come in. Because what I'm recognizing is I'm not thirsty for any new friends. I don't need any new people in my life unless it's something miraculous or, there's just a good person that just comes through. Like, I'm not looking for new friends. I'm not out here like, oh, I want to go out and get new friends. I don't really, I'm good. I love the people in my life. If I can preserve and keep these people for life, I'm good. I'm good, really, to be honest. If I build new relationships with people organically and it happens, cool. But I'm not like looking. I'm not yearning. I'm not like thirsting for just new friends. I want new opportunities. Like, I'm looking for new opportunities. I'm looking for new bags, that are good and ethical and sound. But I don't necessarily need more and more people in my life because I know what it means to be a friend. To be a friend means you have to have the time and emotional investment to really show up and hear and listen and hang out and, do things. That's really what it is. And so, to be honest, I have a lot of people that I already have that type of commitment to. You just have to be really stellar or grand to fit in that network. And to be clear, just because a person is not your friend doesn't mean they're your enemy, right? And I think that's the problem. People always assume that friends, if you're not a friend, you're a foe, you're an enemy. That doesn't mean that. It just means that, hey, we're cool, we're cordial, but, I'm not necessarily going to be going to your birthday parties and all your shindigs. Like, it's just going to be, it's just, and that's okay, right? I just feel like in adulthood, folks just don't understand the various codes and relationships dynamics. They don't recognize that. People always say kids don't get it, but I feel like kids get a lot better than adults, to be honest. I feel like kids can read the rooms on things. Like, I look at my younger brother who is now entering high school as a freshman. Oh my goodness, time. And I got a brother that's about to graduate college as a senior this year. Like, I'm seeing their experiences and I'm recognizing them. My youngest brother who is in high school, the way in which he talks about friendships and things, I'm like, man, he's so black and white with it. Like, he's like, yo, so-and-so, they're hanging out with so-and-so. I don't really talk to them anymore because they're doing this. My man, like, he just gets it. And I'm like, well, is there beef? He's like, no, I just don't really talk to him that much anymore because, I don't know what we'll talk about because he wants to be friends with this person. That's the shit I'm talking about. Like, that's how it is. It's like, it doesn't have to be beef, but it also doesn't mean you get to sit at the table and eat with me. Like, go on, move along. And so I have just been very clear in my experiences lately of just reminding people where they can go and where they had me fucked off. And there's no smoke there. But people make it that way because they just feel like if you tell them no, then automatically the worst has come. And I don't believe that. I don't believe it's the worst. I don't believe that it's the worst or the end of the world because you and me or whomever, we don't see eye to eye on something. No, we just may not be friends because that's a line that got crossed, right? There's a trust that's no longer there. Because let's be very clear, if you violate me in a certain way, you cross a boundary, then yeah, I don't trust you. And if I don't trust you, then I can't call you a friend. Period. And I think that's a problem. Like, if you can't trust a person, how can you call that person your friend? So I realized through time that people will try to guilt trip you. They'll try to make you feel guilt. They make you feel like, oh, you're being cold. You're being so, judgy. You're being all these things. When in reality, you just know yourself. And you just know what you're going to settle for and what you're not going to settle for. And people are so used to folks just accepting any and everything that they don't recognize a person that will say, actually, that's not okay. Actually, no. Actually, nah. You can get into a position in life where you can set those boundaries. They're not used to that. People are just not used to folks actually saying, no, that's not okay. No, I don't like that. No, that was offensive to me. And if you're not in a position where you can hear that and acknowledge that and apologize or recognize that what you did is not okay, then where is the true, genuine concern and respect? It must not be there. And so that is some of the things I've been learning, navigating adulthood and just seeing things for what they are. So, food for thought. So music this week, there's been two big major moments, well, three major moments that I want to, breeze through. The Video Music Awards, I guess most of pop culture have moved on very fast. Most people don't even care at this point. But I just want to say it just was meh, very underwhelming. This year was the 40th anniversary of the VMAs, and it just felt like a snoozy. Meg Thee Stallion hosted it, so the ratings did go up to a certain degree than what it was in the past 4 years. But even with all of that hoopla, it just felt flat. I mean, Chappelle Roan did a great performance. Sabrina Carpenter was adorable in her performance. Meg Thee Stallion was great. What really made me sad for Meg was that Eminem opened up the show with Houdini, which is a song that made a nasty diss at the foot shooting incident of Meg Thee Stallion. And I thought it was really disrespectful for MTV to literally have him open up the show and you have Meg Thee Stallion as the host of the show. That just really felt tacky to me. It was tacky and it was disrespectful. And it just shows like how black women in this industry has to still put on while also being publicly debased, even in opportunities where they stand. Unacceptable. So that left a sour taste in my mouth at the beginning of the show. Taylor Swift is now tied with Beyonce for most VMA wins. They both have 30 apiece. And it's only a matter of time before Taylor Swift will most likely surpass that record. Or maybe, Beyonce put out visuals. But it's obvious in a recent interview that Beyonce did that Beyonce doesn't care about these standards anymore. She says she's done with the pop factory machine, the pop star machine of rollouts and all these things. She just wants to do things on her own terms. And I think after 30 years in the game, that makes sense. The media just couldn't get enough of trying to give Taylor more accolade than what really happened here. Taylor Swift has now surpassed Beyonce with the most solo wins because Beyonce got, I believe, 4 wins from Destiny's Child, and then she got 2 wins with the Carters, the Carters, which is her and Jay-Z as a quote-unquote group. So she had the most solo wins, but now that's been surpassed by Taylor Swift. There's something important to note about Taylor Swift's VMA wins. Taylor Swift is getting these wins now because the VMAs has now become fan voter generated. So no longer does the quote unquote Academy, right? These are fans voting for Video of the Year. They're the ones that are driving up the decisions. So when you're the biggest pop star on the planet, whether your shit is good or not good, if you're just very popular, you got a bunch of tweens voting for you in categories, you're going to win awards that, if you're talking about merit-based, you don't deserve. If you're talking about actual, aesthetic and artistic creativity and value, you may not win. You're not going to get it for that. It's popularity. Let's be real here. Who has seen the Fortnite music video? Who thinks that Fortnite as a song from Taylor's catalog is one of her bests? She has won Video of the Year, I believe, 3 consecutive years in a row. And again, this is based off of fanfare. All Too Well, Anti-Hero, and in this year, Fortnite. The All Too Well video, I could see that. That was deserved. That was a short film. It was 10 minutes long. I could see that. Anti-Hero, not the best video. Sure. Fortnite, forced. Post Malone's on it. Post Malone fans and Taylor Swift fans stuffed the ballot box and voted for it, right? So now that these award categories are driven by the fans, quote unquote, a bunch of bots and a bunch of young people that have nothing else to do all day but vote on MTV, it just has cheapened the entire point of the award show. Which is why I've noticed watching the VMAs, they did not give out that many awards on TV because most of it was just a bunch of performances, which makes sense because Taylor Swift, I believe, won like 7 awards that night. So seeing Taylor Swift go up on stage and pretend she's shocked that she's winning has just gotten so cliche and dry at this point that nobody really cares. So, it's just so, like, we're just over it. Like, it's just such a machine. And she's always wanted to be that girl. And now she's that girl, but now she's that girl. And it's just like the overexposure. She's now reached that point in her career where she's overexposed. I feel like there was a point in time where Beyonce was overexposed. And we know, and not now, definitely not now, but that's because she made sure she didn't. Because we see this with artists, where when an artist begins to be overexposed, they begin to be the brunt of the joke. Now they become the person that like nobody like wants to like, and like now everybody just is like, ugh, them again. We saw this with Drake, where Drake was overexposed. We saw this with Britney Spears, right? We've seen this with even Rihanna. Like at a certain point, Rihanna was overexposed, where we just got every single thing Rihanna did, And I've noticed that a lot of great artists, to maintain their career, they will purposely do everything they can to get out of the spotlight. And I think Taylor Swift did that, right? And then she came back and it was 10 times worse. So I just feel like we're at this high peak of her. But I feel like when you get that high, you can only go so low unless you decide to sunset a certain level of fame you have. I think, we've seen it. I mean, unfortunately for Janet, it was scandal, right? That was not necessarily of her own doing. Clearly, Justin Timberlake was also there. We've seen this with Britney Spears. We've seen this with Mariah Carey, where unfortunately scandals had to be the case. For Beyonce, it just seemed like motherhood and marriage kind of put her in a position where she had to, that allowed her to get out of some of that attention, and come back a lot more resolved and a lot more reserved, because she aged gracefully into this chapter in her career. And what's even baffling is that everybody wants to force Beyonce to still act and perform the way she did during the I Am Sasha Fierce era. I've come to accept that this is a woman like Renaissance. She does not want to do that anymore. She does not want to put out 1,000 music videos. She does not want to go to every award show. She just really wants to be at peace with herself. Because that industry, she knows that industry. She was, in many ways, a child star. She gave up so much of her life to the red carpet and to cameras and to lights that I think I get why she wants to preserve her peace in her 40s. It makes so much sense. But Taylor Swift, this is about to get really old really fast. And I'm actually, I don't know if the word is concerned, but I'm kind of a little like, I'm looking like, yeah, one more year of this, because this is just, it's not humanly normal. Fame is, this level of fame is not healthy for anybody. And I'm not saying that it's going to lead to drugs and alcoholism, but we've seen so many iconic stars that we saw them and we thought they were perfect or close to perfection, that they did not handle this. This will eventually go into a different direction. And so before it gets ugly or before it gets cheesy or before it gets played out, bow out in a way that just take that break. Take that break, Taylor Swift. Take a real break. Like even Adele. Like I got to give Adele credit. Like Adele's like, look, this residency, I'm taking a break. I want to be with my family. I need to focus on other things. She's in her 30s. Like, she's like, look, I need some time. We love that. We love to see it. And I'm just over seeing Taylor Swift. I like her music. I respect her music. Some of her music, some of it is a little overrated, but I'm at a point where I'm just like, okay, all right. I've seen enough. You've done a tour. You're doing a world. It's okay. When this tour wraps up, I'm okay if I don't hear from you in 3 years or 4 years. Take some time. Because the music is not even sounding as good anymore. It's so obvious the music is becoming so formulaic, so robotic, so commercial, just so cheesy, so marketed based, that it just doesn't even feel genuine anymore. The songwriting is so scripted. It just doesn't feel authentic anymore. So I'll be okay if she takes a break, to be honest. It might be good for her. I think it'll be great for her, actually. And this whole Travis Kelce relationship, okay. I'm not fully convinced about that, but that's just me. But yeah, VMAs was just overall mid. I feel like I'm growing out of it. I mean, I watch it because it is a moment, and of course I have to, watch it for pop cultural sake, but I don't enjoy it as much. It doesn't thrill me, excite me anymore, like other award shows, which we'll talk about. I'm just not cuckoo for it anymore. As far as other issues, right? This Super Bowl drama with Lil Wayne and Kendrick Lamar, this has been rehashed for a whole week. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it here because I think points have been made across the board. I'm going to make it very plain here. Lil Wayne is past his prime. Lil Wayne has clearly issues with drugs and alcohol or substances. It's something not well with him. And that's visibly seen in the way that he performs. Lil Wayne's hits are very vulgar to the point that I can't envision him on stage rapping these songs without being bleeped out by the FCC. Lil Wayne is a Trump supporter. Lil Wayne has a lot of fucked up things. It's very anti-black and just kind of not even hip to the culture. Lil Wayne has not aged well in pop culture. He just has not. Was this man a big star once upon a time? Absolutely. Lil Wayne was an icon. He is definitely put himself in the rap Hall of Fame. But Lil Wayne in 2024 is nothing that I want to see at the Super Bowl as a main act. I don't care. I'm sorry. And I think most people don't either. Kendrick Lamar is the moment, whether we like it or not. Kendrick Lamar is the moment. Kendrick Lamar had one of the biggest songs of the year. Kendrick Lamar is very popular right now. He's got hits. And to be the first solo hip hop act outside of Jay-Z, like Jay-Z hasn't even been able to do it. I mean, Jay-Z clearly doesn't seem to be interested in doing it. But for him to achieve this just is real hip hop. It's a moment. And I think he's great for it. And I think he will be fun. And I think he's going to bring out some artists. And I think that at one point in time, he probably would have considered bringing out Lil Wayne. But now, because of how nasty this has gotten in public, I think he's going to probably steer away from it. Let's be real. The only reason why people are thinking about Lil Wayne doing this is because it's in New Orleans. If it was anywhere else, nobody would even think of Lil Wayne surpassing him. The only reason why people are trying to justify Lil Wayne is because of the fact that it's in New Orleans. If it was in, I don't know, Dallas, Texas, or Houston, Texas, well, first of all, people won't be Beyonce again, but she probably wouldn't. No one would say Meg, right? It would not be Lil Wayne again then. So this whole idea of coming to your hometown rapping, child, nobody cares. This is a global show that's watched by millions upon millions of people every year. Nobody is rushing to see Lil Wayne at that level and that capacity. And nobody wants to hear, the last hit that Wayne had was 10 years ago? Like, when was the last time Lil Wayne had a bona fide actual hit that we really was playing up? It's been a decade, y'all. It really has been a long ass time since Wayne dropped something that we just really galvanized on. Like, when was his last solo number one hit? It was not in this decade. What new music is he coming out with? Obviously, Kendrick's dropping a new album very soon. Clearly, Wayne is not dropping a new album that anybody wants to hear. To me, the logic is there. All this other shit that everybody's talking about, I just feel like that's just people just whining. Okay? Yeah, no. And then the CMA snub. Country Music Awards. People keep talking about Beyonce got snubbed for nominations. There's been a lot of talk about why, and it must be the racism. I'm going to propose a very interesting theory that I don't think a lot of people has talked about. I don't actually think Beyonce submitted for consideration. I don't think Beyonce cares. I don't think Beyonce wants to be nominated. I don't think Beyonce's entire purpose was to try to get into the country music love. If people actually paid attention to what inspired Country Carter, she said it very vividly on an Instagram post a couple of months ago that she had an experience at an event or an award show or something where there was an experience incident that made her feel not valued or disrespected and all this. Basically, she talked about the racism she experienced, right? And that made her want to go into her roots and really explore country music and reclaim it in a way as a Black artist. What was that experience, y'all? That was when she performed Daddy Issues with the Chicks, the Dixie Chicks, the Chicks at the CMA Awards. And the members of the Chicks said that there was racism that Beyonce had experienced, and there was a lot of negativity around that performance and around her showing up and performing country and being with the Dixie Chicks. Like, this has been documented. So let me get this straight. You all expected this Black artist, who clearly doesn't give a fuck about award shows that much anyway, right? That the place that gave her the inspiration to make a country record and recognizing that institution as a racist space, that you thought that she would want to put her awards, her music in consideration to those people to get a level of validation, to get nominations, to show up to their award show again after she knows what kind of people they are? Nah, no, I don't see that. I don't sense that. I don't think that's what she did. And so I think Beyonce, once again, is trying to make the point that she's at the point in her career where she doesn't need the validation. And I don't think her fans have grown up with her enough to appreciate that about her, because they're so glued to trying to make this a competition. Beyonce is in a league of her own. Why do people keep putting Beyonce and Taylor Swift in a conversation as if they're equals? Sure, fame-wise, perhaps, But artistry, talent, nobody does what Beyonce do at that level in any of these comparisons. These comparisons to Adele, even Adele is like, y'all, please stop. Please stop. And Taylor Swift, I mean, no, there's no comparison, right? So these women are on their own league. So when I hear people be like, oh, I don't like Taylor Swift because of Beyonce, don't do that. Because what you're actually doing is the fact that you're comparing Beyonce to Taylor Swift is actually acting like that. No, I listen to everybody. I don't feel this stan culture makes people feel like, oh, if I support this artist or like this artist, that's a knock on the artist I really like. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Because Beyonce knows her worth and her value. So she doesn't need her fans to have to shade or disrespect other people because she recognizes what this industry is and how it works. And if you can recognize that two things can exist, that this artist is a great pop artist, but this artist is one of the greatest of all time, and that these people can coexist in the same universe, that's what this is about. That's how music works. And I think that too many people are trying to create these false senses of celebrity. And I think that's a problem. That's a problem. And I think we see too much of that in our culture. So I need people to really be able to focus and to respect and create boundaries. And I just really think that's not happening enough with celebrity, because celebrity culture creates a world where we just demand from some artists in ways that they don't want to show up and perform. Like Beyonce, I think, isn't trying to do all of these various things. So, stop comparing her. Stop putting her in these brackets. That's just my take. And then movies, listen, all of this stuff, that I have seen, I've heard, I've seen a lot of stuff going on. But this one movie that has really got my attention on Netflix is called Rebel Ridge with Aaron Pierre. And this film is on Netflix. And if you have not seen it, you need to go see it. It is a fascinating thriller. It's action-packed. There's shooting, there's heist, there's all of that. But this ending is genius. And it's something I have not seen in a film like that in a while. It's creative, it's thoughtful, it's poignant. It's just something different, and it's cool. It's doing really well on Netflix. A lot of you all probably have already seen it, but I just wanted to spread the word. If you have not seen Rebel Ridge, this black actor, Aaron Pierre, who's British, he is incredible. I mean, a star is born. I mean, he's been around, but you're going to hear that name, Aaron Pierre, for a minute. You're going to hear more about this man. He is the next big star in Hollywood. I see him in a lot more movies, but I just want to put that out there, that this is one movie that you don't want to miss. And now for the Emmys. I got a chance to watch the Emmy Awards on Sunday night, and I was a little surprised by some of the wins. I mean, there was some predictable wins, but there was also a couple of surprises. For starters, I saw the Shogun sweep, which Shogun definitely did some major sweep. It won Best Drama Series. It's a very brand new show. It's on FX for those who's been binge watching. It's a really great show. It's an epic. I don't know if there's going to be like a season 2 situation, but it was a really poppin' drama series. It won a total of 18 Emmys, which is the most ever in the history of the Emmys for a single season of a show. 18 Emmys across the board. It won Best Actor, Best Lead Actress. The lead actress is the first Asian actress to ever win in the lead category. And Viola Davis presented it to her, which was really awesome. I really like the Emmys. It's one of my favorite award shows because it's full of energy. There's always a lot of diverse winners. This year, Liz Colon won for The Bear for Best Supporting Actress. This is like the third consecutive year where an actress of color has won. This started off with Shirley Ralph, who won for Abbott Elementary. The next year, Io from The Bear won last year. This year, she got moved into the lead actress category. She lost to Jean Smart, which was the actress in Hacks. And this year, Liz Colon won for The Bear and Best Supporting Actress. Best Supporting Actor Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series went to also The Bear. Ross, cousin, won, this is his second consecutive win. It's that kind of role where it just gives off it's going to win every time it's nominated, at least these past 2 seasons. The lead actor in a comedy, of course, was Jeremy Allen White for The Bear, which was not really a shocker there. Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. I'm trying to think. It was all those categories got a little bit confusing. Like I'm thinking about limited series. I'm thinking about all the other shows. I know best lead actress and best supporting actor was Billy Cudrup for the morning show, which was a lot of people in the morning show that was nominated, but I feel like they all canceled each other out except for Billy Cudrup, who won best supporting actor in a drama series for the morning show. But they had a lot of actresses and actors nominated. I liked what's her name? Nicole Bakari, who's an underrated black actress. Definitely is underrated. Jodie Foster won an Emmy for the first time in her career. She's a 2-time actress, Best Actress Oscar winner, but this is the first time she's ever won an Emmy, and it was for True Detective, which is still a series, but just different iterations and different actors and characters. So she did really well there. Yeah, the Emmy Awards for the most part was pretty stellar. Some really great surprise wins. I mean, Baby Reindeer took over everything, which I already told y'all Baby Reindeer was that show. They took over everything. Best lead actor in the limited series. Jodie Foster won best lead actress, but best lead actor for the guy who played the lead character. The actress who played the psycho, stalker woman. She won best supporting actress, which was a smart move. At first, I thought she was a lead actress, but she went into the supporting actress category and she won, which was genius. What a risk. Sometimes people call that category fraud when a lead actor, it feels like the lead actress, the categories where a lead performance takes over the supporting performance. But it was a lot going on. I was very, very impressed with the diversity of the winners, and just the love. Shows that did not get much love across the board. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which a lot of people liked, that got nominations, but there was no love. They didn't really win. Donald Glover, I don't even think was there. There wasn't much buzz around them. But this also happens with a lot of these TV shows because a lot of times about 2 or 3 shows that kind of sweep everything and everybody else plays catch up. And then you get maybe a little bit of surprise. The Daily Show won again, this time with Jon Stewart, because Trevor Noah finally won an Emmy for his work on the show before he left. Lamore Morris, who's this actor that was a part of the show, The New Girl. The black guy who played the New Girl, he surprised everyone and won an Emmy for outstanding supporting actor in a limited series, and it was for the show. Oh my goodness, Fargo. It was Fargo, which was interesting. But he did really great. That was a surprise win. There was just a lot of interesting wins tonight. There was a lot of interesting moments that also took place. Like they had Jelly Roll doing this interesting tribute. Then this guy won for Slow Horses for writing, which I hadn't seen that show. But he's a writer named Will Smith. He's white, but he makes this little sly joke about Will Smith talking about some "I come in peace" when he got to win an award, which was just a very cheesy, cheap, stunt to pull. I thought that was a little tacky in my opinion. But there was a lot. There was a lot of big moments across the board. Lots of great, things. I'm going to recap. Best drama series was Shogun. I'm going to tell y'all about best comedy in a minute because I got some thoughts about that. Best actress was Anna Sawai for Shogun. Best actor was the actor in Shogun, the lead actor who Yoroyaki Sandanda, who was in Shogun. Best supporting actress in drama series was Elizabeth Debicki from The Crown. Okay, she's the one who played Princess Diana in the final season. And I thought she was incredible. I thought her performance was great. I thought young Princess Diana was great, but this Princess Diana, much older, was also phenomenal and was a perfect win for a show that used to take over the Emmys, but they had to give The Crown something, and it made sense. Now, let me get to best comedy because the whole night on Twitter, a lot of people were dragging the Bear. And I had sensed for a minute, and I already told you all this summer when I saw The Bear season 3, that I felt like that huge high that The Bear got was going to start to fizzle. I did not imagine it was going to fizzle as fast as it did. But I think the big debate everyone has about The Bear, and I've been saying this for a minute, The Bear is not really a comedy. Like, it's not. Jamie Lee Curtis won an Emmy last week, for her performance. There's some great acting and great performances, but The Bear is not a comedy. It's not. It's a drama. Like, this show is barely funny. And that's not because it's not funny. It's just that it's just a drama. It's deep. There's a couple of laughable moments. Succession is funnier than The Bear. Let's be real. Like, Succession is funnier than The Bear. But Succession is a drama. And the only reason why The Bear is nominated is because there's these stupid, rigid, ridiculous TV rules about sitcoms and comedies where comedies are 30 minutes long and dramas are an hour long. So The Bear is I guess for budget reasons, it doesn't be a full-length dramatic ass hour show. It is a 30-minute show. And because of that, it's formatted and considered a comedy because of its formatting. Isn't that stupid? Like, am I the only one who thinks that is, like, ridiculous? Like, there's nothing funny about The Bear. The lead actor, Jeremy Allen White, literally wins Best Actor in a Comedy Series. And I'm trying to figure out, is there ever a time where we, like, laughed and found him hilarious? You got a category with Steve Martin, Martin Short. You got some heavy hitters in comedy in this category. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, you have these major actors in this comedy, and this guy wins. And and the problem is that it's like, do we recognize that this is category fraud? That literally they put them in there because if it's in a drama, it's going to get a little shaky, right? Because they can't go against the big budget epics or whatever. But at the end of the day, this is just ridiculous. And so the big shock of the night is that everyone just knew The Bear was going to win best comedy series. Like, it was written, everyone just knew it was going to happen. And throughout the night, it got a little shaky. It was the most nominated comedy, the most nominated series, I believe, this year, or one of the most nominated comedy series of all time. It had a lot of nominations, right? So everyone was like, clearly The Bear's going to win again. To Pete, of course it's going to win. And throughout the awards, it didn't sweep as much as it did last year, but it won Best Directing of a Comedy Series. It won Best Lead Actor. It won some acting categories. It won some technical awards. It just looked like it was going to clearly sweep and win. And everybody had it on its predictability chart that it was going to win. The biggest upset of the night, the shocker that no one saw coming, Hacks won. Yes, the return of Hacks, season 3. The one where Jean Smart wins her third consecutive, best lead actress win. This show that also surprised everybody won best writing. It wins best comedy. It takes the thunder. It pulls the shocking upset. It was the last moment of the Emmys, and I was thinking, of course, Shogun wins, which we all knew, which it should have won. But we were like, yep, it's gonna be, let's get ready to tweet. It's gonna be, The Bear. And then they said Hacks. And I gagged. I was like, whoa. That's what I love. That's what an award show is supposed to do. It is supposed to surprise you. It is supposed to shock you. You're supposed to have that moment where you're like, oh shit. Like, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's right. And shout out to the Emmy voters who really was like, you know what? Comedy had to stand up and say, no, this is not it. Because there was so much backlash when The Bear swept last year. And so coming into season 3, they just had season 3. It's obvious that the tide is turning on this show very quickly because I think people are just waking up and realizing, was it really that good? I mean, it was good, but it really got drunk off its own stuff. It smelled itself really too early. And while it was great to see some diverse wins and some historical wins, because the first Latina actress to ever win in a comedy series, it happened because of The Bear. The Bear gave us a black actress that won some major awards, right? It opened some doors in some great ways for some diverse actresses to have a moment, right? But I will never forget the fact that they took the thunder from Abbott, because Abbott Elementary for that last season should have won. And I hate that. Like, I mean, look, Hacks is a great show. It's cool. But if y'all was not going to give it to, the Bear, Abbott Elementary should have took that, So it's just very like, And I mean, Janelle James, oh my goodness. I just wish she just, that performance, man, like they got to do something. We got to figure out how to get Janelle. Like Janelle, I will, look, Cheryl Lee Ralph is a great actress and I get it, it's her time. But man, Janelle James, man, she just did it for me. She really did it for me. And so, yeah, I just need to say that. As far as other TV moments this week, Book 2, Ghost Book 2, we're getting close to the final episodes, but I've really been watching it. If you haven't been watching Ghost Book 2, for those who've really been following the show, it is a great moment. It is great TV. It is ending with a great bang. It's the final episodes, and I'm savoring every episode. I'm watching like the episodes twice. I'm just really gonna miss this show. I really watched it, and I'm happy that it's ending in a great time. Like, I feel like if they would have done another season of this show, it probably would have felt a little drag. But they really are bringing out all the knives and all the fire to just wrap this up in a great way. So I'm super excited to see how it plays out. And then lastly, Love and Hip Hop. I'm watching it. The suspense, the momentum. It's just like, you know what it is? Reality TV has not been as good as it should have been in a while, because social media lets us know how things are going to play out, that you can't even watch these shows and root for something. So the worst thing is that, like, we watched the confrontation. Finally, Jasmine, who of course was the mistress of Kurt Frost, they had a love child, all of that. We've been waiting to figure out what Rashida was going to do. And we kind of realize now, because of course they're on the red carpet together, that Rashida and Kirk are not going to leave each other. Rashida's not leaving. I'm just so over them. I'm just so over the situation. I mean, it's just like, just bird behavior across the board. It's not a marriage. It's really a business partnership. It's just whatever they got going on. And what's annoying about it is the message it sends out about marriages. And like, even the way that Rashida like tries to promote this narrative about, being a strong woman and sticking through no matter what. It's like, what the messages are. Like, at the end of the day, Kurt is doing what he wants to do. Kurt clearly is unhappy in that marriage. Kurt doesn't want to leave because, honestly, there's no incentive for him to be better. And it's accepted what the marriage is. And I just wish they would stop. I wish Rashida did not spend this past season pretending like she was not going to stay, because I think that's what made it worse. If she just would have just been like, look, we got an understanding, and what we got is what we got, and what we do is what we do, that would be fine, because open relationships and understandings is fine. It's obvious that there is an understanding that they have, and Kurt is doing what he wants to do because he can. They've got that understanding. Maybe Rashida's doing what she wants to do. It is what it is with them. I don't even care anymore, right? But what's annoying is that she literally plays, and this is what's annoying about it, is that she puts on this facade that she's a no-nonsense woman, that their marriage is, they have this monogamous relationship, and that Kurt stepping out is him cheating. But it seems as though they are like with each other, and that's where it's at. And so here we are, and there we go. So I'm a little, their storyline's annoying me. I believe that Jacques' current wife, right, Kendra, the lawyer, I think she might leave Jacques. I'm following that saga. I feel like Kendra might be the one to say, you know what, because she's smart. She's independent. She's not dependent upon Jocelyn, as she describes him, to be
her end all be all. Like, I really believe Kendra will say, you know what, Jock, you full of shit. We know Jock is cheating. That's what the streets are saying, allegedly. I just don't, I feel like she might leave him. So I'm in the mindset where I'm interested in seeing how that's going to play out. I really am over the Kurt and Rashida storyline. I followed it too much. Thought something was going to change. I should have known better. I'm ready for that storyline to wrap up. It's just played out at this point. Let's see who else has got something to bring to the show and to the table. Really do like this season in spite of Kurt and Rashida. The storylines with the other cast members of the show has been really fascinating to watch and just been really interesting to see play out. So I've been following them. And then in wrapping up, there's a lot of news already about another second assassination tip towards Donald Trump. Look, nobody should be a victim of an assassination attempt, regardless of whatever political affiliation you're a part of. But at this point, to give it any more energy, to give it any more attention, I just feel like it's just fueling the mass distraction. The candidates that are running for office on that side of the fence just is showing a lack of true maturity. The VP candidate, J.D. Vance, pretty much said he will create stories. I guess that's the new alternative, facts and lies, but we'll create stories to keep the media's attention on certain issues. Translation, this man pretty much said he will make up stories and lie just to keep stories. So basically they are admitting that they're creating mass distractions to keep the public, distracted. This is just ridiculous. And at this point, nobody gives a fuck, to be honest. Everyone is tired of it. The first situation that happened a couple of months ago, put the country to the edge. At this point, people are not stopping. At this point, everything just is getting hella weird. And the conversations and the distractions, even the fucked up rhetoric of Trump supporters online, Laura Loomer, or whoever her name is. I'm not giving this woman any much entertainment on my podcast either. Like, it's just at a point where it's getting very desperate. And I just want people to just really be thoughtful and mindful about what they're hearing and seeing online, and not to get distracted by the bullshit and to focus their eyes on the prize, which is to have a more respectful civic election cycle and just to make sure everybody votes and register the votes and just stay woke. So those are my thoughts on that. I wasn't going to let it take up any space on the beginning of my podcast because, quite frankly, I'm just not going to feed too much into certain bullshit. And yeah, this week is going to be quite interesting. Clearly, there's going to be a lot of conversations in politics and around the country and the city around some big moments in politics. But let's keep our eyes on the prize, people. And as always, be well and be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.